All right, welcome. I'm the Fantasy Commissioner. Today we're doing a 2021 NFL free agency preview. I'm joined today with 2020 runner-up Tony Mize
How you doing?
and 2016 AFL League champion Guy Kohnke.
Hello, everyone.
So we'll be looking at some of their expertise in today, um, looking at potentially where some of the top free agents could go. So the way the show is going to work today is we're going to start off talking about free agents. We'll pick a position, we'll kind of go down that one, and then once we're done with that, so this is kind of like a split stream here. The first part of the stream is going to be for anyone. So if you're not in our AFL Fantasy Football League, you can watch this part and hopefully take something from what we say. And then at the very end, we're going to kick it over and we're going to talk about some of the transactions that have taken place in the offseason in our fantasy league. Maybe look at some potential keepers for each team. This year, of course, we're only allowed to keep 5. Um, and then maybe we'll dabble into the NFL draft a little bit too. But the main focus is going to be the 2021 free agency period. And we've got quite a bit of information. We have each team what their cap availability is, or in unfortunately some cases, no availability.
Yeah, lack thereof.
And then we also have what team needs are. Now the team needs also will be wrapped up. For example, Jacksonville, their team needs a quarterback. However, we're assuming that they're going to take a quarterback with the first overall pick, so they probably won't address a quarterback in the free agency market. So we're before we get going, do you guys want anything to say, Guy?
Let's just get to it.
All right,
Yep,
go.
let's
All
let's
right.
get in
It's
this.
always
Well,
time for football.
we're gonna start with the most popular position, and that's quarterback. And the reason I want to start here is I think it's one of the weakest groups of position players in the entire sheet we have.
It's very weak,
It's very weak, and here I still have some players. For example, Dak Prescott is still listed on here, and that's only just he just signed. He just signed his contract. Cam Newton, he's listed on here. He just signed, re-signed with New England. So you look at the top quarterbacks available. You got Jameis Winston, who was with New Orleans this year. We have Ryan Fitzpatrick with Miami, Andy Dalton with Dallas, Mitchell Trubisky, Chicago, Jacoby Brissett, who was a backup for Indianapolis, Tyrod Taylor, who was the backup for the Chargers, and C.J. Beathard, who did see a little bit of starting play this year, but not much.
That's because Garoppolo was hurt.
Right, and both Brissett 2 years ago he started I think almost every game for the Colts,
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and of course Tyrod Taylor he's been a kind of a bridge quarterback.
yeah, just like Fitzpatrick. I could see Fitzpatrick if Watson possibly doesn't play at all this year. You could maybe see Fitzpatrick in Houston.
Could you see Tyrod and Fitzpatrick going to the same team and they just rotate them back and forth?
Very well could be. It could be a place like Houston, where uh, Houston's relying on Watson to play. If Watson doesn't play, then they need somebody to play that position. So those are the best two guys there.
Mm-hmm.
Or they could bring in an Andy Dalton.
I was just looking at the name Dalton, and I think that'd be, excuse me, a better fit. You're looking at he is a Texas kid, and I mean I think of all these quarterbacks, personally, I think he would be my first choice of what's available in this list. Um, I think my second choice would be Trubisky, actually. I don't know if he's completely gotten a fair shake in Chicago.
I don't think he has either. I
You look at an
think
offensive line there. I mean, for example, you take Trubisky. Let's say he was behind the Colts or Cowboys offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
You're telling me his production wouldn't have been better?
I think it would have been better, but I don't think he's the kind of quarterback that's going to lead you to the
No, I'm not saying that
trophy.
he's carrying the team on his back. I just don't know if he got a fair shake in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
no,
Is my point.
I don't think him and Matt Nagy meshed very well
Right.
as a quarterback
Yeah.
um, coach situation.
I mean, you could see.
In history, it doesn't seem like many quarterbacks have meshed well with the Bears anyway.
Right.
See
And I'm
now
a
here,
Bears fan.
with all these quarterbacks, another thing you got to think about is price.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously, a lot of teams with all these guys, they're not going to break the bank for any one of these players.
Nope.
No.
Um, that's what I think. Actually, I think Trubisky would be one of the cheaper ones to get because he's kind of looking at I got to get my
Mm-hmm.
career back.
Yep. Yeah,
Um,
he's looking to redeem himself, and he's got the draft capital that a team might say, "Hey, let's give this kid a shot."
Plus, I don't think either Trubisky or Chicago's ruled out him coming back for
right.
another
Right.
year.
Right.
I mean, he did well this year, really.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when he did play and when they, I don't think he did as
It's
horribly
just
as people think
they
he did.
neither Nick Foles or Trubisky could ever get in a rhythm in that offense because they were both worried about the other guy coming in behind them. So
It's
they couldn't do anything.
um,
And then let's touch on Jameis Winston. He's not leaving. He's in New Orleans. He's staying there. He signed a 1 year $1 million deal last year to play under Sean Payton. He wants to be there. He wants to run that offense.
there's a couple, and I'm not disagreeing that that's not an option. There's a couple I'm gonna throw curveballs at you. Number one, Drew Brees has not decided yet.
No, he is not
Mm-hmm.
officially retired.
Um, and part of me wants to think. I think they want Hill.
They might want him, but
I
he's
I
not the
want to. I
quarterback.
think they want to push him to be the guy, to be the quarterback, at least in the short term. I don't think he is a quarterback in a long term situation, but
I think if Jameis really wants to play under Sean Payton and he wants to be in New Orleans, he's going to sign another league minimum deal.
it's going to have to be because they have one of the worst cap
Yeah,
situations of
they have no
anyone.
money. So I could see Taysom Hill going into the season being a starter. If Taysom Hill falls on his face, they have Winston there that has proven he can play quarterback. He just makes bad decisions. And maybe under Sean Payton, that gets fixed.
Trying to think of where else we could see some of these guys going. Brissett will end up somewhere as a backup.
Yeah, he's
I'm
going to be
not
a
even gonna
backup
try to
somewhere.
take a stab at that one, Beathard or Taylor. I mean, wherever they go. I mean, the
Mm-hmm.
only ones I think that have shots at being a starter in a short-term situation. None of these guys are long-term situations. Are
No.
Winston? I could see potentially starting somewhere if there was an opening. Um, Fitzpatrick could start somewhere for a year. Same with Dalton and Trubisky. Like we said, Trubisky may stay in Chicago.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I think of all of them, Trubisky is the most likely to stay where he's at, and then Winston.
yeah,
Yeah, I agree with
Um,
that.
because if you want to talk about price, it'd actually probably be smarter for New Orleans instead of paying him the league minimum, which actually you say league minimum, you'd actually be surprised what that actually is.
right.
Just draft the heir apparent. Just have Hill be the quarterback. They could probably talk Breeze into coming back for one more year if they were going to say, here's what we're going to do. We're going to use our first round pick or even our second round pick on whoever the best quarterback available is. Will you stay one more year and will you help groom this guy so he can learn from you? You get one more chance. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's not like Drew Brees' arm completely fell off and he can't throw.
No, but you also gotta wonder, like, management above the coach, if they want Breeze back now, if that cap hit this year, whatever that is, plus because they're already.
But think of Breeze. Breeze would probably be willing to restructure
Mm-hmm.
to a point to make it so he can stay there.
He's already restructured.
Restructure again. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I remember seeing they talked about a bunch of players that they would have to cut. New Orleans is in a very bad situation.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Very bad situation.
Just so everybody knows that out there that doesn't know, the salary cap for the maximum went from 198 million to 182 million.
And
That's
they're
why we're talking so much about teams not being able to afford the players that are already under contract, and why you might see a lot of teams like Chicago did it today. Three players they restructure their contract to give them their um, salary in a signing bonus versus their salary to save X amount of dollars under the cap hit.
Well, and Dallas did the same thing when they re-signed Prescott. It was actually a very cap-friendly deal.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I think it saved him like $4 million, I believe.
Tom Brady, everybody might have heard Tom Brady's extension. It really was an extension. He just took the salary that he was supposed to get this year and moved it to a third year.
I mean, I will say this: I don't like Tom Brady. I never have. Number one, I didn't like him beginning coming out of college, of course. But
Go to Wayne
I will
Haskins.
say this: I will give him credit in this. He's got the Michael Jordan mentality of. I mean, Michael Jordan was never the highest paid player in basketball,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what Brady has done. He's like, well, here, you give all them the money, so at least it keeps me having the ability to still win. We're not talking about Super Bowl 7 with him if you don't have Levante David, Shaq Barrett, Devin White. I mean, that defense was very good,
That
Oh yeah.
entire defense should have got Super Bowl MVP,
Mm-hmm.
or at
not Tom
least
Brady.
at least Barrett.
Yeah.
Devin White. I mean, they all were.
Well, Levante David knocked down. Levante David was out in coverage playing on Kelsey and held him down the entire game. Well, not the entire game because you can't stop Kelsey.
So since he touched on it, we'll come back to the quarterbacks here. I just want to give everyone so you guys know what the actual cap room is now, and these numbers were as of what I send this out 5 days ago, I believe. Maybe it was 4 days ago. So they could have changed. Like he said, for example, the Bears number on here is listed as negative 17,569,000, and with their move, it actually now they're in the 6 million plus, or roughly 6 million plus. But as of the printing of this sheet, the Jaguars have 73 million, just short of 73,700,000. The Jets are at 69 million. I'm going to kind of round these up. I'm not going to give them exact numbers. The Patriots are at 68,500,000. Colts are at 46,700,000. Bengals are at 43 million. The Washington is just under 39 million. The Dolphins are at 33 and a half. The Broncos are at 32 and a quarter. The Chargers are just under 26,700.
The Chargers just cut Hayward, so that saved them 10 million. So they're actually at 36.
The Browns are just under 25 million. The Panthers are at 24 million. The Niners are at 24 million. The Cards are at 21 and a half. The Seahawks are 19.7. The Bills are 19.5. The Raiders are just under 18 million. Texans are at 17.6. The Ravens are at just under 17. Titans are at 17.7. Vikings are at 8.7. The Steelers are at 6 million. The Giants are at 3 and a quarter. The Lions, now here's where the drop off comes. The Lions are at 700,000. The Cowboys are at 600,000. Now we hit the negative numbers. And obviously, like I said, he just said this one will be different now because of like the Tom Brady restructure. On here, it shows the Buccaneers, your world champions, at negative 5,500,000. Packers, who were in the NFC Championship game, negative 9,600,000. Falcons, negative 14 million. The Bears, negative 17 and 500,000. But like I said, that one is in the plus now, 6 million in the plus. The Chiefs, your runners up, are just under 21 million negative. Eagles are at 26.9 negative. The Saints are at 32 million negative, and the Rams are at 33 million negative.
Yeah, so the Rams are hurting.
So
Mm-hmm.
those teams have to get out of that situation, so they can't even think of any of these players before. If
Don't they
anything, they're going to be adding to the pool.
don't they have to have the salary cap situation done by like the 17th? Is that the beginning? Because that's the beginning of the league year.
I want to say that is an accurate number, but
Yeah, I'm not sure when that
I don't
goes into
remember.
effect.
It seemed like they didn't have very long to get the cap situation
And
figured out for the
with
teams.
the Rams, a lot of that is the dead money from the Jared Goff deal.
right.
They still owe him a lot of money for this year because of the trade.
Um, to his point, I did hear it talked about that the league, some of the teams were going to actually ask to have a lot of this pushed back. for that reason what you just said. Like
Mm-hmm.
I heard the discussion. It hasn't changed as of right now, and I don't believe it will. So the 17th is when free agency will begin. So typically, if I recall, tomorrow, so the 14th is when teams are actually allowed to actually start talking
That's the
to agents.
legal tampering.
Right. Um, but they can't physically sign. For example, Matt Stafford was traded to the Rams. Goff was traded to the Lions. Those deals technically are not official until Thursday. That's
Mm-hmm.
17th, right? It's Thursday.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, and or is it Wednesday?
Wednesday, Thursday.
It's
Wednesday.
Wednesday.
It's this week.
Um, and what's the other deal that just happened? The other trade. There was another trade.
Um, Isaiah Wilson to the Dolphins.
No, that was that wasn't the one I was thinking of. Oh no, the J.J. Watt deal that's
Oh
official.
yeah.
But there was another. I don't know. I can't remember. I'm sorry. I apologize. I can't remember what the other deal was. There was another deal that took place that isn't official until that day. Um, so we have a team, an NFL team. You can't even see in the camera, but what each team needs. So we'll go down here. I'm gonna name off the teams that are looking at a quarterback. And understand some of these issues will be resolved in the draft as well. So you got to take that into consideration. So we have considering quarterback are the Bears, um, the Broncos, but it's a lesser need. Um,
I think the
I
Broncos is a
I
lesser
think
need.
I think the Broncos need a
well,
quarterback.
they're not in a position. I mean, they have Drew Lock. They don't have to necessarily.
I think they're done with Drew Lock.
Yeah.
You don't think they'll give him another shot?
Nope.
Nope.
I mean, you can almost say he hasn't even gotten a shot yet because he was hurt.
He's had enough.
Yeah, I
Not a
don't.
fan of Drew Lock, huh?
You're talking about a John Elway ran team. He's not going to be patient with quarterbacks.
See, and I actually disagree with this. They list the Falcons needing a quarterback as their number one need. I mean,
I
you cannot say the Matt Ryan has to be gone.
I'm not saying Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan is still good,
Matt Ryan's got
but they
several
need.
more years
They
in
could
this
use
league.
someone in the wings though.
Yeah,
But then it's just like, okay, hindsight being 2020, do you really think the Packers should have moved up and drafted Jordan Love?
yes.
No.
I mean, Aaron Rodgers, the players are going
You're
to their
just a
40s
Jordan
now.
Love fan. That's why you say that.
No, but players are going. I mean, Aaron Rodgers has more. This kid going to sit for 4 years, 4 or 5 years before he gets the field. He'll be a free agent again before Rodgers is done. Well, of course, Rodgers is a bad example because he's a little cuckoo, so he
I
may
think the
just
Packers
retire
will
tomorrow,
go.
with all we know.
I think the Packers will end up pulling a Patriots and trading Love to someone before
Right,
that time comes anyway.
but Matt Ryan has several years. I don't think that's their could now. I don't disagree with having one in the wings, getting a young guy, but make that your number one priority.
I honestly don't think it's their number one priority. I think the Falcons' number one priority is not necessarily defense, not receiving. It's a running back. They thought they had the problem solved last year with Todd Gurley. Todd Gurley's done. He doesn't have it anymore, so they need to bring in a running back, and it's not even
Mm-hmm.
listed there. What are you going to go in the season with Ito Smith and Brian Hill? I don't think so.
I don't disagree with them making defense more of an issue. I'm not saying that. Here's I'll say this: running back should be on this list and quarterback off, but fourth.
But here's the things with the Falcons. Look at the salary cap. They don't have money to sign a free agent.
Right, they're gonna have to draft it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think the whole point of what I'm trying to say is Matt Ryan. They should not have quarterback listed as a top priority in Atlanta.
No, I don't think so. I mean, if there's a quarterback there they like in like the third, fourth round, you know.
Now the Jags, obviously, that's Trevor Lawrence, and they don't. I mean, they don't even need because they still got Minshew. I mean, you can even have really Lawrence. I don't think Lawrence will sit. I think he'll
No.
almost
No,
play from
he's
day
a
one.
day one starter.
But you have at least a viable backup.
Yeah.
I mean, really, you could almost argue Minshew would be considered a top 5 backup quarterback in the league.
I think you're gonna see Minshew end up being a Ryan
They're not going to cut him
Fitzpatrick.
because he's cheap enough where they're going to hold on to him unless they got a trade offer that was worthwhile.
Minshew will travel around the league in his career and be a decent backup.
He'll
or
be
starter.
Fitzpatrick.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
he'll
what I
be
think.
he'll after Fitzpatrick is done. That's what
They'll
he's
have
going to be a gap.
they'll have a
gap guy.
ceremony. Fitzpatrick will hand over the reins to
It'd be like the
Minshew.
Peyton Hillis Award. Um, but I mean, we know the Jags aren't going to address quarterback in the free agency. The Jets,
I see them
we were
take.
actually just talking about this before
Yeah.
we started the stream, and I guess I didn't really get your take on it, but I know guys in agreement with me. Let Darnold ride out another year.
Yeah, we're all in agreement. Let Darnold, now that Gase is gone, that he's got a new head coach in there, new system. Let him learn that system and see what Darnold can do with the new system. He's got P Ryan there in the backfield. See what P Ryan can do in his second season.
I mean, it wouldn't be a bad idea to maybe to address the running back situation in free agency,
Well, right, right.
but
The Jets have the cap space to do that, so they could bring in a Chris Carson, they could bring in a James Conner, um, and um, kind of show P Ryan how
right.
to play football.
Well, let's come back to running back. Let's just focus on quarterback right now. But like I said, I think, I mean, if you want to, I don't even know if they really go and draft one. Just,
I think the Jets could use a wide receiver to go with Mims.
Yeah, because Jameson Crowder's free agent. I'm pretty
right.
sure.
Yeah, he is.
I think
Okay.
everyone on the team besides Mims, pretty much.
Yeah.
As far as other quarterback needs, let's try to stay the quarterback. So we got the Panthers. I would say address it in, unless you're going to do the Deshaun Watson deal, address quarterback also in the draft.
Yeah, because
Hold
there's
on to Bridgewater.
there is quarterbacks in the draft.
Hold on to Bridgewater. I still think Bridgewater's a good quarterback. I like him,
He's
but
okay.
I
I
I
mean,
think I think Bridgewater's like Fitzpatrick, John Kitna. They travel around the league and they're going to fill the gap until they get a franchise quarterback.
uh, really the only one, and this could, God, and it's not like I said, quarterback this year is not going to be a priority for anyone as far as free agency because Washington obviously needs a quarterback.
They have him.
Um, huh?
What's that kid's name? They got hurt.
Henneke,
Yeah.
the one that Chase Young loves.
hmm
Yeah.
It's
I'm not.
it's
Hey,
I'm not serious.
hey,
it's lightning in a bottle. I mean, come on,
they
it's he
they
had one
they
good game really, and
they chose him over Dwayne. What's that guy's last name?
the
Dewey.
future quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Dewey Haskins.
Anyways, so that was the actual quarterback team needs. So now we're gonna go back to quarterback real quick, and um, okay, so we'll just go down this list real quick. Everyone pick where they think Winston will go.
New Orleans.
New Orleans.
I'm gonna be the odd duck.
Weird.
Um, I'm gonna say New York Jets. He's gonna go and back up Darnold, and then this.
Personally, I would rather be a third stringer in New Orleans than a second stringer in New York.
Actually, I had the Panthers as the other team I was thinking about. Obviously, Cam Newton resigned, so
I have a thing about Cam Newton. Think the Patriots signed him to be number one, or just in case they couldn't find anyone else?
I think they signed him to be the number one as of now. I think if Mac Jones is there when they pick, they're going to take Mac Jones, and Mac Jones is going to be the day one starter.
Until week 2 when Cam comes back in.
Yeah, when Mac Jones gets crushed.
all right. Fitzpatrick.
If Deshaun Watson doesn't play, Houston.
I kind of thought Fitzpatrick would be a good fit with the Panthers because the Panthers could sign or draft one of the rookies. Have Fitzpatrick, but he'd be kind of the same Miami situation. Be just playing there until he has a bad game, then they'd pull in Lance or whatever.
I'm gonna say Chicago.
Hmm, I could see it maybe.
For like a one. Now, obviously, there's talk of this Russell Wilson trade. If that happens, then that completely blows it out of the water. But as of right now, I'm gonna say Fitzpatrick to Chicago. Andy Dalton.
Chicago.
I don't know. I think Dalton's pretty much washed.
Really?
hmm
I still think he can perform.
I could see him maybe going to a backup for like the Jets or Texans.
So here's a question: Nick Foles or Andy Dalton?
Pass.
Andy Dalton.
If you had to choose, if you were Matt Nagy and you had a choice to choose Andy Dalton
You know what?
or
I
go
know where
Nick
I'm going to put
Foles for the
Dalton.
season,
I'm going to put Dalton where I think he should go. In like you just talked about Cam Newton. I'm going to put him in New England.
that would be a good
I
fit.
think Belichick would like him.
I
Yeah.
think that would be a good fit.
Bridge
Trubisky,
it for a little bit.
and we won't do this with every position. We're not going
I,
to go through the
I,
entire list, but
I don't know
quarterback's a
where
little different.
Trubisky ends up. I don't know if a team is going to view him as a starter or a backup at this point, so it's hard to predict him.
I think he ends up sticking with Chicago.
If he doesn't stick with Chicago, I'm going to say San Francisco.
That I didn't think about San Francisco because
I think
that
with the
that
coaching
yeah.
out there, I think he would benefit from it.
Yeah.
They have solid talent. You know, I think it'd be a good
I
fit.
I like that. I like that.
Brissett, it's not going to matter. He's going
Backup
to be a
somewhere.
backup somewhere.
Yeah.
Same with Taylor and same with Beathard.
Yep.
So all in all, the quarterback position isn't strong in free agency.
No. Unless
Uh,
there's some big
now
cuts.
we're not going right down this list. We're going to actually bounce back because I want to come back to certain ones because I think they're the stronger groups. So I want to go to tight end because I think that's another really, really, really weak grouping.
It's
So
terrible.
here's what we have on here. We got I'm not even gonna say all of them. I'll say this is the top six. We got Hunter Henry from the Chargers, who I think is the cream of this crop.
I don't think Hunter Henry's that good.
Well, when healthy, the guy performs. When he's healthy, he's one of the top tight ends of the league. But the problem is the guy does not stay healthy. And as a
Might
Charger
be why.
fan, I know this guy knows that.
Yep.
Jonu Smith, I think, has really good talent.
I
Um,
think I think Smith is better than Henry.
Yeah.
Um, now he's on this list, but let's face it, he's not going anywhere. Rob Gronkowski is not leaving Tampa.
No.
It's just a matter of how much, how the deal gets worked out. Um, Gerald Everett from the Rams, Kyle
Filler.
Rudolph, who just got let go by Minnesota, and Jared Cook from New Orleans.
That just got let go of
Yep.
New Orleans.
Man, Kyle Rudolph. He's as fast as a couch. I don't see him being anything except for backup somewhere, if that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean Henry. I've heard Henry coming back to the
I
Chargers.
don't think the Chargers spend the cap space that because
Mm.
Hunter Henry's going to demand about $10 million against the cap.
I think Henry's going to end up in New England.
I've heard the Jets.
I don't think I
Oh,
don't
we should probably go through our tight end if there's any. I can't remember if there's anyone that need a tight end in here. Let's see. Team needs tight end. We have the Eagles, and
they don't need a tight end.
well, Ertz is not. Ertz is going to end up being, I think, let go.
Well, yeah, they're either going to trade him or cut
Yeah.
him.
But you
They
still have Dallas
Goddard.
Goddard.
That
Everyone who watches the stream does know that I'm horrible with names. He's my lifesaver.
they don't. The Eagles don't need a tight
Oh,
end.
he doesn't have a little hole, and he's not fruit flavored.
How do you know?
um, because 2 years ago Dallas Goddard was a top tight end with Ertz there.
Mm-hmm.
So without Ertz there, Goddard's above Hunter Henry in my mind.
I think Goddard is a top 5 tight end.
Yes, I think he's right up
Plus,
in the conversation with Kittle. Kittle, Kelsey is different, but Waller, what's the other one I'm
Andrews.
thinking? Andrews and
Mhm.
Goddard are the second
Yeah.
tier, I think, of tight end.
Now
plus
on
the
here,
Eagles have another tight end. I can't remember his name offhand, but a capable number 2 was a third, but now he'll be number 2, and he's capable. So I don't really think tight end's a big need for him.
Nope.
they got the Falcons listed as their third most important need is tight end. They don't really have who they.
The guy he was in Baltimore, Hayden Hurst.
Yep, he did okay.
He was okay. He just never got into the flow.
He's
I don't
not
think.
he was a first round draft pick for the rate. He's never lived up to his hype.
Mm-hmm.
They got the Giants on here. I mean, Bavaro is still performing at a high. I'm just kidding. Mark Bavaro, had to give him a little shout out. No, Evan Ingram. I mean, when healthy, he performs well. I think
Yeah.
maybe that's a question of again, like Hunter Henry staying healthy.
Mm-hmm. I think that's where you run into with Ingram. He can be good, but not very often that he is.
I mean, if I'm the Giants, really just address the, strengthen the line even more, although it is decent. Receiver, definitely, they need because obviously Tate just got let go, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, Golden Tate's gone.
And Sterling Shepard, he hasn't lived up to the hype that he had gotten coming out of college,
Got there close a couple times. Like he was really good,
but
then
never really.
kind of
I mean,
almost. And
think about when he came in though. Beckham was still there, and everyone had like, "Oh, this is going to be a pairing for a while,"
Yeah.
and boy, that
Um,
didn't live up.
Panthers are listed here as a tight end spot.
Um, Obviously the Jags have their fourth most biggest need, and I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Um, yep, it's the Panthers,
And the Texans.
Patriots,
Mm-hmm.
the Ravens, which I don't know. The Ravens, I don't unless they're looking for depth.
I don't think the Ravens need another one because they got behind Andrews. They have
Nick Boyle, isn't it?
Boyle. And he's their like blocking tight end.
Right.
I
Yep.
think they're fine.
Texans could use an upgraded tight end.
Texans
Oh,
can
yeah.
use a lot of things.
That's why Watson doesn't want to play there because they don't have anybody. I mean,
So
Besides that, there's a lot of front office stuff that's going on that's
Yep.
behind the scenes that hasn't completely leaked out yet. But
going down these guys, let's see. We got Hunter Henry. So where do you think he's going?
I think because of cap space, New England.
yeah, I think he's
New England's got the money to.
Belichick's
pay him.
always loved Hunter Henry. I think that's where they're going to end up getting him. They might end up having to overpay a little bit to get him, but they need something there.
I'll make it unanimous. I'll go with that as well. Jonnu Smith.
Johnny,
What was the Titans? What was their cap space?
That's what I'm looking now. 17 mil.
Pay the kid. Just keep him.
Janu
Just keep him.
Bengals.
I mean, that's not a bad place for him to go. That's also actually not a bad place for Hunter Henry to go.
Mm-hmm.
But just pay the kid.
think-
He's decent enough where he's not gonna get big. None of these guys are gonna get Hunter Henry's probably the one to get the most.
I'm gonna give Jonathan Taylor another blocker because Jonathan Smith is a damn good blocker. So I'm gonna say the Colts for Jonu.
That's not bad either.
Carson Wentz is known to throw to tight ends. Wentz and Goddard, or not Wentz and Goddard, but
The tight end's
Ertz.
already situated there. He just isn't released yet.
Who?
Ertz.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. Wentz in Indianapolis,
Right. Ertz is gonna probably go to Indianapolis.
probably not.
Why?
I don't think so.
You got his quarterback that he likes. You got the coach, his offensive coordinator from Philadelphia,
And a lot
when
of
he
cap
was like
space.
putting out great production.
I don't think Ertz ends up at.
I
I
think
just
Ertz
don't.
goes to Arizona probably. Seems like for some reason now Arizona's like the place to go.
No.
To die.
When are they going to get to the Super Bowl? Never.
Gronk, we're I think in agreement. He's staying.
Yeah, he's not going anywhere.
Now you get to the next three, which are going to be
No.
Everett. I'll tell you this.
Ger-
Everett maybe could start somewhere.
Gerald Everett has shown flashes. I see him going to maybe the Jets.
I'm going to say Tennessee.
Maybe.
Maybe.
I don't know. I don't really have a strong opinion. I don't think he's very good.
He had some hype coming out of college,
He has shown flashes. He can perform, but
but he was also in a situation where now and again they were kind of two tight ends that weren't like superstars, but were solid.
Yeah.
Higbee and Everett.
Yep.
Rudolph, I
and you had a terrible quarterback throwing to him.
wouldn't say he's terrible.
I think Goff is terrible.
He got me a couple division titles
Yeah,
in
I
our
don't
league.
like Goff either.
Kyle Rudolph.
He's done. He
No,
might.
he's not done.
He might as well retire though.
Yeah.
He still can be a solid depth player.
On the bench, behind actual
And he,
NFL players.
I don't think Kyle Rudolph is going to say, I was good once. He's going to want money, and teams don't want to pay.
Well, no, I
for-
think he's to the point where he's also understand he's not going to get a top tier contract.
I think he thinks he will.
Yeah, I think Zach Rudolph. I don't think highly of him at all. Jared Cook should retire.
Hold on, I
Let's just
disagree
move on
with
from
that.
Kyle
Zach
Rudolph.
Rudolph had a solid career with the Memphis Grizzlies.
Memphis
It's
Grizzlies.
Randolph.
Again, this is why he's my lifesaver. All right, Jared Cook, last name we'll throw out there.
Retired.
Retired?
He's gonna retire.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I mean, I could see him signing somewhere. I mean, he's just gonna be a random late summer addition
Again,
to a
league
team.
minimum for a tight end, just to.
I mean, what if he went and was like the backup in the Packers? I mean, you're telling me there aren't places this guy could go get like a league minimum deal and like be happy?
I mean,
He's
he
gonna want
could,
to.
but
You put him someplace that at least has a
he
chance
doesn't
to
offer
win.
anything that makes any team go, "We need him." He's like, "We need a tight end. Who's cheap? Cook, sign him." That's how it's gonna probably be for him.
Yep. And if he can't find anywhere to go, he's gonna just fade into the sunset, like Dwayne Haskins.
What about the Chargers?
No, I don't want him.
All right, let's. Well, that's the end of our tight end talk.
I mean, the Chargers would be fine when they draft Pitts.
They pick 13th. I don't see Pitts being
No.
there. But if
No,
he
he'll be
was,
a
I'd
top 10 pick for
I, I
sure.
would I
Yeah.
would buy a Pitts jersey like on the spot.
All right, let's go to linebacker next because it's one of our smaller groups. We
I
have.
don't study defensive players, Eric.
Hmm?
I said I don't study defensive players.
Well, you should because our league actually has individual defensive players, and some of these names are some of our top ones. So there's 6 names, 2 of which are already actually signed to their to their teams they're already on. So Levante David was number 1. He obviously re-signed this week with Tampa. We have Jayon Brown of Tennessee, KJ Wright of Seattle, Denzel Perryman of the Chargers, Matt Milano of Buffalo, who he also just resigned, and Jared Davis of Detroit. Um, KJ Wright, I'm going to start with KJ Wright. KJ Wright is kind of more of a declined player, but still, he can still bring some heat. Um, if I'm Seattle, I'd say just figure out how to keep him. I don't think he's not going to command top tier dollar.
No, I think he might want just enough where he might be expendable though.
Um, I mean, of these players, J.M. Brown is probably the one that would get the most. He's a
Mm-hmm.
solid tight end, solid linebacker. Not a pass rusher, more of a run stopper. Um, if I'm Tennessee, I would try to just keep him. But teams that need linebacker,
I'm gonna excuse myself a moment and be right back.
okay. Um, Buffalo, and now that need may have been addressed with resigning of Milano.
Yeah, I think
Um,
Buffalo's good. The Broncos, because Von Miller is.
and there's a name that I've heard possibly getting released.
Yep.
You have the Falcons and the Giants.
Dolphins,
Yep.
Giants,
It's-
Patriots, Raiders. That's it.
So, J.M. Brown. I don't think we need to go through as far as placing them where they're going to go.
Yeah.
None of these guys are going to be. I mean, J.M. Brown might get a decent contract.
The
Perriman's a solid player.
Yeah, Perriman's a solid player. I could see Perriman going to New England because they have the cap space, and Belichick is known for bringing players that kind of fell out of favor on their current teams back to life. So
I like Jared Davis actually when he's healthy. The problem is he does not stay healthy. Um, but he'll command a small bank, and someone will take him, play middle linebacker for him. But all in all, with now if Levante David was still on this list, is not being re-signed, which was an absolute genius move by Tampa to
yes,
keep him. Um, I think we'd be talking about a different story because I think we'd be talking about probably one of the top 5 moneymakers in the free agency market had he not been re-signed.
yeah. As far as linebackers go,
Because he would have commanded, well, I think just players in general. I think Levante David would have had a big following. I think you would have seen even teams that don't have needs on here. Um, Cincinnati. I can see Cincinnati, and I can see a lot of teams saying we need that player because number one, the guy's a tackling machine.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know his
I
actual
I mean
average, but it's got to be darn near
I had him on
nine,
my
ten
fantasy
tackles a
team
game.
last year, and he was every week he got me 100 to 80 to 100 points. So
And that's obviously we're talking about. In our fantasy league, defensive players scoring is different than other ones. So, but tackles are worth a fair amount in our league. Sacks are worth a fair amount. But he's just a tackling machine. Wherever the ball is, he's there and he cleans it up. But Guy,
that's great.
when you were gone, we were just talking about really how if Levante David was still available, we'd be talking a different story about the linebackers. He would have commanded possibly top 5 money um, in the league overall, not just at his position.
I agree.
Um, and like I said, you can't say enough good things about Levante David. So Tampa made the smart move in keeping him. Let's see. Let's go to like I said, there wasn't much to talk about there. Let's go to safety. Safety actually has some good names in here. But before we get to that, you know what? Let's go down the need list. So
I think every
safety.
team could use a good
Well,
safety.
any team could. Yeah, you're right. The Vikings definitely need one. Well, they need more of a compliment to go with Harrison Smith. Washington's listed on here, and those are really the only teams that are listed on here. But you look at some of these names. I mean, well, some of them already got tagged. So Justin Simmons, Denver tagged him.
Mm-hmm.
Smart move. He's another one that he would have commanded overall top 10 money on this
Yeah,
on these out of this list for overall positions. Marcus Williams, he got tagged.
I was surprised he got tagged.
So was I.
I don't think he's that great. He gave up a lot of plays and missed a lot of tackles last year.
What about the one that he's most known for missing?
Well, there's that too.
Um, and then also Marcus May. Did I say it right?
Yeah,
Oh my God, I got one right. Yay me.
like the month.
Of the Jets, they tagged him. That one did surprise me.
Yeah,
Um, I don't know if he's necessarily worth. I don't know the actual tag cost because now when a tag, what it means is the player they take the average of the top. Is it top 5 or top 10
Yeah.
at their
top
position?
5.
Top 5. So they take whoever the top 5 safeties in the league are, and they take that number, add it all up, and then divide it by 5, and that's the number they come up with.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what you're paying him. I don't.
Or I just heard this. It's 120% of your salary from the previous season if you make more than that average.
Oh,
So like
Yeah,
if you look at that both Allen Robinson and Godwin were both franchise tagged. Um, Allen Robinson is actually making $3 million more this year than Godwin, because Godwin fell under the average part of it. Robinson didn't, so he makes 120% of his salary from the previous year.
let's see. Anthony Harris from Minnesota, which obviously probably gives the reason why they're expecting Harris to leave. John Johnson from the Rams. You got Xavier Woods, not the professional wrestler from Dallas. New Day. Malik Hooker from the Ohio State University and a Indianapolis Colts. Um, Canu Neal,
Keanu.
Keanu Reeves. Um, of Atlanta. He's actually, if when healthy, he's probably second best safety on this list. I'd still say Simmons is better player
Yeah,
overall,
I think on this list Simmons is definitely his own
but
tier.
when healthy, that's the problem with Neal is
Mm-hmm.
when he doesn't. He's another one that has health issues.
Yep.
And then Kenny Vaccaro of Tennessee just got let go
Yeah, I think
just the other
Vaccaro's
day.
more just a role player. I don't think he's makes or break anything.
Um, but so of the ones that weren't tagged, so I mean Harris and Johnson, I'm not even gonna take a chance of where they're gonna go. They could any of them could end up anywhere really.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
That's the thing. You look at the team needs, and like I said, every team needs good safeties.
Even if need isn't on one of the teams, that team would still probably want extra safeties.
Now, I'm going to throw this one out there. Neil. I mean, the one thing I will say, and I don't know this for fact, but I want to say he's a leader in the locker room.
Hmm.
So he wouldn't be a bad a pickup just for that reason alone.
Yeah, I can see that there's a team that has young DBs.
Yeah.
Here's a place for Neil. Chargers. That way they have, if Neil is hurt, then oh look, we got James or Derwin James there.
And then when
If
James gets hurt again, Neil can come back in.
Yeah.
exactly,
Or they can just spend the IR together.
they
They
could.
got someone to have next to each other in each tub.
As a
Um,
Chargers fan, we're used to having not having a safety.
and this is, of course, the Buckeye fan in me, but I still think Malik Hooker is going to be a great player. Um, I would love to see him on my Dolphins. I can tell you that. I would order the Malik Hooker jersey in a heartbeat. He's another one though that had some injury issues in Indianapolis. That's why I never think he got a full shake.
I kind of feel like he's just another guy in the team.
That's how I feel about a lot of these safeties on this
Yeah,
list. They're just a guy on a
I'd
team.
take. Don't get me
Simmons
wrong, I would
isn't.
take him.
Well,
Now the
Simmons,
tag players, correct me if I'm wrong, guys. The tag players actually technically still can get picked up.
no,
Correct?
no.
Mm-mm. They can be
Oh,
traded.
that's restricted free agent.
Yeah,
But restricted, it's like if they do it, that's the team has to give up compensatory picks.
Yeah, like
hmm
Gus Edwards, he was a second round. He's a second round tender. So if a team wants Gus Edwards, they have to give a second round pick to the Ravens.
If I was a team, I would try to trade for Simmons. I'm trying to think of what team. Dallas. I mean, there's a team that needs a safety,
hmm
and
But that's the thing. Does Denver really want to get rid of him, or is Denver just franchising him, tagging him this year, so the salary cap goes up next year, so they can sign him to a big deal? Because the salary cap will go up next year. They've already
yeah.
said that.
I don't know. I think if the right offer came in, I think Denver would take it.
They might. It just depends what the offer would be.
Um, let's go to corner next. And this list has. I'm not going to read the entire list. I'm going to kind of pick apart it. So, number one, we got Shaq Griffin, Desmond King. Now, you just said Hayward just got released, right?
Yes.
So he would go probably in the top five. We got William Jackson from Cincinnati, Troy Hill from the Rams. So now Richard Sherman's on this list. You know, I mean that Sherman's got to go to a team that's a contender.
Yeah.
Patrick Peterson's on the list.
Another one, it's got to go to Xavier Rhodes. Those three. I mean, Patrick Peterson, in my opinion, is Hall of Fame worthy.
hmm I think
Um,
he's passes
he's passed, but he still
over the hill.
could. I mean, people. How many people said that Rod Woodson at the end? What if you take Peterson, and move him to free safety?
Probably a good move.
Yeah.
Um,
Here you go.
Yeah, I'm waiting for this one.
Arizona brings back Peterson, moves him to free safety. Buda Baker at strong safety.
I'm trying to think of where else he could go. I mean, I don't know if they do that move though. If you already have a, if you already have a top free safety like Arizona does, I don't know if you mess with it. I mean, Buda Baker is a playmaker.
Buda Baker's.
I don't want to go this route as far as he says he's not Ed Reed. I'm not saying that, but I think in today's NFL, he's probably the Ed Reed-esque player.
Yeah.
Um, Xavier Rhodes. Now, like I said, Xavier Rhodes is obviously past his prime, but he could definitely be a nickelback.
hmm
And same with, I mean, Richard Sherman isn't a shutdown corner anymore either. I think he could still lock down the number 2 and number 3 receivers on a team. You're not having him cover your DK Metcalfs or anyone like that.
No.
But I don't think Sherman could make the move to. I don't think at this point he could make the move to free safety.
No, I think Sherman's got to play corner.
Yeah.
Um, all in all, the corner position. I mean, Shaq Griffin. I don't know. I don't know what they're doing. Seattle's a hard team to figure out right now because
Mm-hmm.
they're still solid. It seems like, but they have. Okay, so far we've mentioned Shaq Griffin, KJ Wright. We've talked about Russell Wilson getting traded, Chris Carson, which we'll get to running backs later. Um,
Seattle's on the tipping point of imploding here pretty soon.
I think if
but haven't they been like that for like ever, and they always seem to kind of reload
I think with
and
Russell
still, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
still stay strong.
I think with Russell Wilson finally coming out and saying, "Look, I don't want to be here anymore," the implode has started.
They have to trade him because he threw like his teammates under the bus.
Yes.
Like you can't do that.
Yeah. That's why a lot of the experts are saying it's a 95% done deal that Russell Wilson is out of Seattle next year. Um, what team we don't know yet, but
Well, Philly
he's not
trades
going to be there.
Hurts and a pick or something.
Could be.
Okay, you gotta think about this. If you're Seattle, I guess trading with Philadelphia wouldn't be as bad. You're not trading, obviously. So what teams really? What teams are in consideration? So Chicago.
Chicago, Vegas.
He came out with four teams that he would waive his not no trade clause to go to. I know the Saints was one of them, but that's out of the question because they don't have the cap space.
Yeah.
The only one on that team that has the cap space to deal with it would be Chicago. That's why there's so much talk that Chicago's going to go out and get him because that's a team that Russell Wilson came out and said, I want to play for that team.
Well, Indy.
I don't think that was on the list.
No, but
That would be a
No,
good
they
fit.
talk
wouldn't.
to him.
I don't think they would. They're not what they have. They wouldn't give up what they have to get him. That's a lot when they're still in a position to win. Um, what about Washington? I mean, Daniel Snyder likes to make moves.
Yeah.
He likes to splash.
They got.
But
They have a
but
solid team.
but that's the thing on Russell Wilson. He's got that no trade clause.
Mm-hmm.
So the team Washington and Seattle can come up with a deal that both teams are happy with, and Russell Wilson can say no, and then it's done.
Yeah.
So it
Washington say, here's 6 first rounders. Seattle said, cool. Russell goes, nah.
yeah, then that deal's done. So Russell kind of handcuffed Seattle and said, these are the teams I want to go to. Well, three of the four don't have the cap space to deal with Wilson's contract. Chicago's the only one that does. So that's the only place they can trade Wilson to is Chicago. So you can theory craft all you want, but it's not going to work.
Let's have fun with this. Okay. Russell Wilson to Green Bay for Rodgers.
No.
You don't think they do it?
Nope. I don't think Russell would be happy in that situation because
I don't know. I mean, he went to college at Wisconsin.
but look at the team structure. So under Pete Carroll wants to run the ball. Russell Wilson wants to throw the ball. Matt LaFleur wants to run the ball.
I think they're still more of a throwing team.
Were they more of a throwing team because they had Aaron Jones and Jamal Williams because they both can catch out of the backfield and Aaron Rodgers can dump it off to him? Well, Aaron Jones isn't there anymore. They got the big boy AJ Dillon that can't catch passes, so therefore it's going to be a ground and pound
You also have
Tennessee
one of the top
style
wide receivers in
offense.
the league in Devontae Adams.
Yeah, and
And
Seattle's got DJ Metcalf,
DK.
whatever his name is, DJ Moore, DJ Metcalf, DK Metcalf.
Third generation NFL player.
DJ Metmore.
Yeah,
Eric's kid, Eric Metcalf.
So on the Russell Wilson front here, the four teams were the Raiders, Bears, Saints, and Cowboys. So
Well,
probably the Cowboys would be out of
Right, so that would have
question.
been before. I
Yeah,
initially heard the Cowboys first, but that was before any of that. The
so
unless
signature
they
came.
trade Dak.
the Raiders could be a possibility. What are the? I
What
don't
were
know
the
what
other
the
ones you said?
Raiders. New
Raiders,
Orleans.
Cowboys, New Orleans,
So the
Chicago.
Raiders have 17 million.
What about the Patriots? What about the and I'll bring this up because I know it was linked to the Watson at one point. The Panthers.
Yeah, if they offer,
I mean, they got decent young receivers there. Obviously, one's a free agent we're going to talk about later, but you still got DJ Moore. Um, obviously, he's got
McCaffrey.
coming back McCaffrey.
hmm
They're building a solid young defense.
But you'd have to talk what Wilson into that deal
I don't think it's.
because of that no trade clause.
I don't think him going to Carolina. I don't think.
Wilson's got to think like, if I go there, can we get to a Super Bowl?
Because he's what, 32? 31, 32?
Yeah, something like that.
Okay, you take.
The Panthers' defense needs some help. So if you're trading away a lot of assets to get Wilson, you can't build your defense.
Yep.
And that's what Seattle's in. They have a bad defense right now.
And I really think that's why Chicago did all the moves they did today to clear up that 23 million so they can move and make this deal. Because
Yeah.
they've said
They're trying to put something together
they're
for Wilson.
prioritizing getting Wilson. I think Wilson's going to Chicago.
Everything points there. I can't see.
I just don't. I don't agree with him going to Chicago for the simple fact Chicago is in a winning situation and they're going to have to give up, I think, what's making them a winning situation.
But so they get rid of an aging Khalil Mack. They draft one of these good linebackers in the second, third round.
If they have, I mean, you don't know what this deal might entail. I mean, it may
I
require.
bet you, kind of from what I've read and heard, I think Chicago's deal is going to be something like first round this year, first round next year, probably second and thirds in there, Allen Robinson and Khalil Mack. Which the Allen Robinson seems kind of weird for that team, but I mean it's upgrade. But would you rather have Wilson or Allen Robinson? I mean, you're getting a good receiver in that trade, but you still have to worry about the quarterback position.
They watch they go sign Trubisky.
Yeah, Fitzpatrick.
There you go. At least you could get a DK.
Mm-hmm. And then Seattle wins the Super Bowl.
I'm gonna, because you're a Bears fan,
Mm-hmm.
and this talk of this trade reminds me of the Khalil Mack deal from the Raiders,
Yeah.
where they gave up a lot
Mm-hmm.
and the output hasn't been what was given up, maybe. And I'm not saying he's not performing because he is. He's still one of the top players in the league. But I don't. I think they were almost thinking they were getting Lawrence
Superman.
Taylor.
Yeah.
Like
I've liked Khalil Mack since he was in college, and so I was happy they were getting him. I knew they were giving him up a lot.
I'll never forget. I'll never forget. It was his last year in college, and they played Ohio State when he was at the University of Buffalo,
Mm-hmm.
and he picked off and returned a pass back like 90 yards or something. And it was like, holy cow. So I always think of that play when I think of Khalil Mack. But yes, he is more on the second half of his career. And he's not that old. He's not even 30 yet, is he? I mean, he's got to be, what, 27, 28?
Let's find out here.
I'm surprised Mr. Miner isn't pulling this up.
Yeah, I don't know Khalil Mack. I don't know much about him. I just know he's been around for a bit.
Guy's looking that information up. But
30.
huh?
He's 30.
Oh, you just turned 30. All right.
February 22nd.
So I don't know. If I'm Seattle, work it out. Figure out a way to make the guy happy. I make Wilson. You keep him.
I'm
Wilson. Okay, I don't say this very often for players when they're, and obviously he's not young. He is. I mean, he's not in the back half of his career yet either. He's still kind of in his prime.
mm-hmm.
I see Russell Wilson honestly as a future Hall of Famer. I really do.
Yeah, I can see that.
And you got to hold on to that.
But see, like I said, he threw his team under the bus.
It's Russell Wilson. It's fixable. That we're not talking about Mitch Trubisky here. I mean, we're not talking about Carson Wentz.
I kind of feel like about 60-40. I think 60% me thinks he's going to stay in Seattle, but there's a strong possibility he's get traded too.
I mean, same with Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson. Now, I would move Watson before I would move Wilson.
I agree with that. I'll admit I'm not a Watson fan at all.
I think he's a talented player, but I also think he is another one. Russell Wilson really doesn't get hurt.
Mm-mm.
You know, and for as much hits and punishment as the guy takes, he's pretty healthy.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
He spends a lot of money on health and repairing his body from everything. He spends like how many $1 million a year on different things, like cryotherapy, chefs and stuff.
Speaking of us, let's move on here. We got going on some trade talk here, I guess. Speaking of keeping people healthy, let's talk about the offensive line, and we'll start right with the man in the middle. We don't have a lot of them, so we got on this list Corey Linsley of Green Bay, also of the Ohio State University.
He's going to be snapping balls to Justin Herbert next year.
Okay. Well, you got David Andrews of New England, Ted Karras of Miami, Austin Bleeth of the Rams. Now, Alex Mack of Atlanta, he's a player probably more on the back end of his career.
Yeah.
But definitely brings leadership. Could definitely be a leader on offensive line that maybe needs one. And Austin Reiter of Kansas City. So obviously Linsley would be the go-to guy on this list. Actually, I really thought Green Bay would have tagged him.
Mm-hmm. I really thought they would.
But they didn't. But he's, he came in. I don't remember who the center for them was, but he got hurt, and Linsley had to start like his rookie year, week 1, and he's never relinquished it since.
Mm-hmm.
So why you didn't tag that is beyond me. It's not like the money for a tagged center is that much. It's not like it's not your tackle.
And like you said, Lindsey, he's a leader.
Yep.
He's a leader of that offensive line. He commands.
And he's young.
Yeah.
I mean, this is his first time hitting the free agency market, I believe.
That's why I said hands down, I want him on my team.
I got to think Green Bay is going to figure out how to keep him and
I do too.
re-sign him.
I honestly, I say I want him to see him in for the Chargers, but he's going to end up back in Green Bay.
Now, Reiter's an interesting one because here he was a starting center for the runner-up Kansas City. They were the world champions a year ago. But they're a situation where obviously they had to let certain people go, and unfortunately the offensive line got the hit.
They just cut both their.
And we'll be talking about those gentlemen very shortly.
Yeah, I have no idea what is going on. I don't know. I kind of do, but
I feel sorry for Mahomes. He's going to be running for his life just like he was for the Super Bowl.
Now, just so you guys know, some of these individuals, and Reiter's actually one. When I originally had put this list together, he's an add-on because he wasn't on the original list because he had just gotten cut. I would actually probably put him number 2 behind Linsley.
Yep.
So he'll command a contract. Someone will sign him for sure. Where he goes, that I don't know. And now guard, is the next one. There's only a few names on this list. And the top name, he got tagged, Brandon Sheriff. Um,
Sure.
but you got, Joe Tooney from New England. He's solid guard.
Yeah, I would take him.
Matt Feeler of Pitt, Gabe Jackson of the Raiders, and Joe Feliciano.
Yep.
Got another one
Nice
right, Tony.
work,
Hey,
buddy.
sounding it out just right.
Yeah, the only one I would maybe give money to that is Tooney, really.
Yeah,
The other ones are,
players.
Role
yeah.
players.
As
Um,
my morning shows calls him Jags. Just a guy.
we'll come back to tackle. We're gonna go to the other side, the defensive side. Let's go to defensive tackle. We got a couple. So we got Leonard Williams. He got tagged,
hmm
and he would have probably got some coin
Yeah.
for sure had he hit the market. J.J. Watt. Now the reason J.J. Watt is already signed was because he was released.
hmm
He was an actual free agent. So anyone that's actually been released,
I'm still curious on that whole thing. Like, why Arizona? Why that much money?
who did he talk to? He talked to someone that was who was it? It was Jonathan Joseph. He used to play corner for Texans, and then he was with Arizona
hmm
last year. He talked to him, I guess, before he went there,
mm
and Joseph kind of said it might be a good place for you. I don't know. I mean, the thought of him teamed with Chandler Jones
Yeah.
is scary. Now, obviously, Watt, who is a future Hall of Fame player,
hmm
um, is obviously on the back end of a career, but he's still like Khalil Mack. He can still perform at a high level, and you're still going to get good production. Unfortunately, he does have an issue with staying healthy.
hmm
You know,
If J.J. Watt stays healthy in Arizona with aside, Isaiah Simmons there, they got Buda Baker there. They have a good defense. If he's healthy with Chandler Jones and Simmons coming off the edge, it's scary.
Yeah. Simmons underperformed pretty bad last year, but
He did, but I still think,
I was
I mean,
high on him too.
yeah, me too.
so was I. And I still, because I was so high on him, I still see in year two him coming back. And
hmm
Now, next on this list, we have Delvin Tomlinson of New York Giants,
That's the
Shelby
guy.
Harris of Denver, and Dominican Sue, Tampa Bay. I probably see them working it to keep him there.
Probably. I know there was some talk about him going back to Detroit, but I don't think Detroit has the cap space or necessarily really wants him. I think
Yeah.
they're
they're in with Tampa, there are so many things that they have to do. They got Shaq Barrett, which we'll talk about later. They got to re-sign that guy still. They got to decide what they're going to do with Fournette. Are they going to bring him back
The thing
on a
about
1 year deal?
Sue though is I don't think he's gonna command. He's gonna be smart about it. I would assume and look at him. All right, I'm older. I'm on the back end of my career. How many years do I really have left?
he should just
I think a lot of
Just
players
kind
on
of be
that
happy
team,
with where you're at.
get the ring and take a pay cut.
a lot of players on that team, if they're like Gronk, um, Fournette, Adama Sue's another one, they're going to take a cheap deal, a team friendly deal, to stay on that team and make a run to get Tom Brady as eighth. They're going to do it.
I think he stays. Um, Now, Jarrell Casey, he just got let go by Denver. I mean, he's not going to command big coin, but he's going to definitely have a lot of people
Yeah,
looking at him.
I think he's solid. Like, I don't think he's a game changer anymore, but like he's definitely someone that you would want
He
if you
got
could afford
hurt,
him.
didn't he? Wasn't that the issue? I remember because when I mean he was a stud a couple years
hmm
ago in Tennessee, and then he went to Denver, and he got hurt, didn't he?
I don't remember.
I don't
Like I was trying to figure out why he fell off, like why they really let him go. Like I mean, I know they paid him decent. I'm sure it was it was a money thing more than anything. But who needs a defensive tackle? Um,
everybody.
Cleveland.
Why does Cleveland need a defensive? Oh, never mind.
Um, I mean, the Packers, they have it as their fourth biggest need. The Patriots, the Raiders.
I
With
can see the
anybody on the
Raiders.
defensive line, it's
Go back to Tennessee.
it's not really a team need because those defensive linemen rotate so much that them having 3 to 4 defensive tackles, so what? It just keeps their that defensive line fresh.
You heard it here first. Jarrell Casey, I'm going to say it right now. He's going back to Tennessee.
Can't disagree.
He's going to Tennessee. Tennessee, here he comes. Wait, it's the wrong song. Wrong city. All right, let's go to.
About number 7 on that list.
Oh, you just want to hear me try to say this name.
Yeah.
Good call, buddy.
Larry Ogunjobi.
I have no idea who it is, so I can't give.
Ogunjobi.
Let's see. Let's go. All right. So what we got left are
Edge rushers.
we have running back, receivers, tackle, and edge rushers. And I'm trying to think. I want to go to. I want to save. Let's do tackle next. So tackle, you have, and this guy's going to get re-signed in my opinion, is Trent Williams with San Francisco.
I think they talked about today. I saw an article that San Francisco's working real hard to get him back. So I think he's back in San Francisco.
I thought Patriots signed him.
No, they traded for Trent Brown.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
When I first saw it, I thought it was Trent Williams too. So
I just
don't
looked at
feel
him like,
bad.
I thought he just.
No,
Yeah,
they
that's
traded
right.
for the tackle from the Raiders.
Yeah.
Now I put this down. I can't remember. Did Taylor Moton get tagged in Carolina? Or was that a misprint?
Yes, he did get.
Okay, he got tagged. You got Alejandro Villanueva
Mhm.
from Pittsburgh. Russell Okung, who obviously he has injury issues,
Yeah.
but when he's on the field, he does block very, very well.
Mhm.
Yes, he does.
Darrell Williams of Buffalo, Kelvin Beachum from Arizona, Cam Robinson. That was a surprise to me that he got tagged.
Yeah.
Yes.
Very big surprise. I think it was almost. Don't take this personally. I know I've had to apologize to whole universities, families, fan bases, but I don't waste the tag on Cam Robinson.
Uh-uh.
And by the way, Noah, I'm not even saying the idiot's name. He owes me an apology because he did not perform for crap that last year.
No, he didn't. And that's why.
So I know I take back my apology. Except his mom. I guess I'm sorry. Your son wasn't very good.
Sorry, your son sucked. That's what I was trying to say.
Okay, we got Bobby Massey out of Chicago. Now here's 3 that got released. Riley Reef from Minnesota, and then of course the 2 from Kansas City, Eric Fisher and Mitchell Schwartz.
Sharts?
Is it Schwartz?
No, that's what you have here, though.
I thought it was Schwartz.
It is.
Okay, that's why I'm reading that. Like, what is he trying to say?
But like I said, I Trent Williams is going to get re-signed in San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
For what I mean, I don't even remember what they traded. They traded. It wasn't a lot, I guess.
No,
They got him actually at a pretty decent price from Washington,
Yeah, I
but
don't remember exactly what it all was, but
Villanueva's been Pittsburgh's tackle for a while.
I think he'll end up staying.
Yeah, they'll work that out. With Pittsburgh, a lot of it is a money issue. They reworked Ben,
Mm-hmm.
and that saved some money right there. Okung, I think he'll go somewhere. I don't even want to guess where, but he's not going to command top dollar. None of the rest of these guys really will command necessarily top dollar. Fisher, obviously a former first overall pick. You could look back and say that he should have been a first overall pick, but then I got to look at that draft class as
That was
well.
a weak class, but he was really good.
He was solid.
Uh-huh. I think part of the reason he was let go was his salary,
Injuries.
injuries, getting towards that later part stage of his career, and they didn't think he'd be ready for the first part of the season next year.
Oh, he's not that old. He's in his upper 20s, but
I bet he's more than that.
No, I think he's in his 30s already.
maybe I'm just old and I'm starting to think everyone's just young.
Eric, you are old.
When's your birthday?
October 24th.
I am the oldest one here.
Yes, you are.
He's 30.
He's 30. All these guys are 30. I think they're
Well,
like
that's
25-year-old
that.
kids.
That's where
Seems
the
like just yesterday he was wearing diapers.
that's where the decline starts in the NFL. Is 30. At running backs, it's 28.
Um, Riley Reef, I think it was a money issue.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I see him getting picked up very, very quickly.
yeah. He'll
I
be-
think most of these tackle issues were money related.
Yep. Um, yeah, I think the two that will stay is I agree with Williams and I agree with Villanueva will stay.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
The rest will move on somewhere else. Now, what Kansas City might do is they might talk one of these two coming back at a discount because there are teams that they let a player go.
Yeah. Plus,
If
they
it-
have one of their tackles, Schwartz. I think he took over for their tackle that went back to Canada to be a doctor because of COVID,
Yeah.
and
Yep.
he's coming back to play this year.
Oh, that's right. That I forgot about.
I can't
some
remember
of
his
these
name
guys
offhand.
that opted out.
Yeah, 'cause he was a doctor or medical field, and he went back to help with that because he thought that was more important. But he's coming back to play, so he's going to basically take back one of those spots.
So maybe they let Fisher walk because of the injury issues and bring back
Mhm.
Schwartz to take care of the
They
other
could do
guy.
that, or they have
Or they draft
some
one.
other pick up Bobby Massey. I like Bobby Massey.
Yeah, I think he's actually a good player. I was actually when I saw his name, I was like, really?
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, all in all, I think the free agency market for tackles is actually very good. If you need a tackle, which we did not go over, who needs tackles? I think everyone could use a good tackle.
Yeah, that's the thing. Same with defensive line
Hmm.
or
I mean,
edge
here we talk about
rushers.
Bobby Massey, and yet the second need for the Bears is tackle. You know?
Exactly. I mean, it was
And
another reason it didn't really make a lot
I
of
mean, on
sense.
here we got Chicago. One of these guys, you know what? Now I think one of these guys is going to end up in Cincinnati.
Hmm.
Look at the
Massey.
teams on this list. So Buffalo. I could see one of these
Williams
guys
is good,
definitely
too.
end up in Buffalo. The Chargers.
yes, the Chargers need a tackle. I would rather them go out and get a tackle in free agency, and then use their 13th overall pick on a receiver or Pitts.
My Dolphins need a tackle. I'd be happy to take any of these gentlemen. Um, yeah, all in all, the tackle position is very, very lucrative this year. Right now, we're getting to the positions I think that are more lucrative. So I'm going to let the youngest guy in the room pick which position we talk about next. So it's running back, receiver, or edge rusher.
Let's go with running back because that's my favorite position.
Former East Kentwood fullback.
Yep.
So obviously on here we have the cream of the crop is Aaron Jones. And then we also have Kenyon Drake, Le'Veon Bell, James Conner, James White, Mike Davis, Leonard Fournette, Marlon Mack, Tevin Coleman, Carlos Hyde, Todd Gurley, Jamal Williams, and Chris Carson. There's also like LaShawn McCoy. There's other names, but I mean McCoy is more or less a role player at this point.
Yeah, he hasn't played in 2 years, so basically.
So obviously Aaron Jones is going to be a big moneymaker this year. I know I've heard my Dolphins getting him.
Dolphins. That's
Yeah.
I support
clear.
that move.
Aaron Jones going to Dolphins.
Is there anywhere else you could see him going though? I mean, a lot of times just because someone's linked to
No.
a team doesn't mean.
I think that Makes the most sense.
And I think Aaron Jones going to Miami would be very pivotal for that offense. I think they're um, a perennial playoff team, even with Tua, even though I'm not a fan of Tua.
Let me ask you this. Let me ask both of you this. What if Aaron Jones was to go to Houston? Would that make? I mean, think about it. You're Deshaun Watson. Does bring in a player like that make him happy?
No.
No, because they're not. The, I mean, they're losing Will Fuller. Who's he got to throw to? Brandon
Kiki
Cooks.
Kuti.
Yeah, that guy.
But you can. I think you can replace a Will Fuller easier than you can. I mean,
Bringing in
obviously
Aaron Jones.
they just signed Mark Ingram, and they still have David Johnson.
That's a 1-2 duo.
Yeah, there's the Oklahoma Sooners, or not Oklahoma Sooners, Oklahoma State pairing of Thurman Thomas and Barry Sanders right there for you. No, just because they're both obviously older and get injured a lot.
Deshaun Watson, I feel, is just completely done with Houston. He's never going to play for him again.
No.
I don't understand it. You know, he's just a young player still.
But
There's a lot of mentality, and maybe it's just me getting old, but I don't understand. So he was upset because he wanted to be a part of the discussion who the next coach was. He wanted to be part of the discussion of who the next general manager was. You're the 25-year-old quarterback that's never made it past a divisional playoff game.
There's more to it behind the scenes with their position is he was a chaplain for the Patriots, went to Houston for the same position, and then kind of worked his way up to like a vice president or something like that. He seems to be the issue with a lot of players, and he just got promoted, and he is not the best type of person to be in that position to kind of be in control of any players or personnel moves. It's pretty deep there beyond that.
Okay.
and here's the thing with the point you were making with Aaron Jones going to Houston. So they only have $17 million to spend. They can't afford him, and to bring in, they got their draft picks. They got to take into account for that cap hit. The Dolphins have 33.5 million, so they can afford to bring in Aaron Jones and a Kenny Galladay maybe, and still draft everything they need.
He could go to Tennessee. He could go to Houston under that money. He would
But then
fit in there.
Tennessee can't sign anything else.
Yeah, they could.
I doubt it. Not much. So they
Running
get,
backs don't command as much as you think.
okay, they get Aaron Jones. Then
Aaron Jones gonna get 12 to 15 million.
yeah, they got 17 million, so they got 2 million left to sign all their draft picks because they still have to sign their draft picks on that money.
Plus, I think it's usually what they say they average like 5 million, 3 to 5 million, I think, for a rookie for your draft picks.
Yep.
It all depends. Well, they don't have a first round pick, so that's a savings right there.
And there's a mutual interest between Aaron Jones and Miami.
Right. No, I was just trying to strip a conversation of someplace else. All right. Kenyon Drake, someone that you're very familiar with, guy. You had him on your fantasy team before you traded him on a discussion that actually got brought up on a worldwide radio station.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Our league went global.
Yep. Fantasy football morning with John Hansen.
John.
I'm sure he's watching. With the Lisa Ann as the co-host.
Yeah, they said, how would they say it? Our league scared them.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was kind of funny.
It scared me at first too, but now I love it.
Kenyon Drake. I mean, at the end of the day, does he really leave?
Yeah.
Do you think so?
Yeah, I think he's gone. I don't think Kenyon Drake's any more than a running back in a committee. I don't think he's a lead back.
I see him like in a Seattle.
Yeah, in a committee with
Mm-hmm.
Rashard Penny and DJ Dallas.
So
That's
he
where
needs
he's
like
going.
20 to 25 carries to hit like 80 yards.
Yep,
He can rip off an explosive play here and there, but it's not consistent.
yep. That's how I feel about a lot of players on this list. They're all committee guys.
Mm-hmm.
They're not standalone. Not like Aaron Jones is.
I've heard rumors of James White taking the minimum to go to Tampa.
Yep, I've heard that too. To be that receiving back that they don't have.
Patriot South,
Yep,
Le'Veon Bell.
garbage,
trash.
not worth anything. Someone will probably sign him, but just because it's Le'Veon Bell.
I've heard him possibly even go back to Pittsburgh.
I don't see that happening.
He could, then he'd have the same season as LaShawn McCoy had last year. He won't get any run.
Yep.
Um, James Conner.
Trash.
I've heard him linked to the Jets.
They can have him.
I think James Conner and another person on this list, Chris Carson, are in the same boat. They're plagued with injuries. Nothing against James Conner with the whole cancer thing. Kudos to him for making a name for himself, but he is not the lead back. Neither is Chris Carson anymore. They can't do it. They need a committee. They need to be the power back and have a Jamal Williams there with them to be the receiving back.
I mean, Mike Davis. I actually see him staying in Carolina.
I can see that. I think
Yep.
Davis would not succeed other places.
He's not going to get a lot of money. Wherever he goes, he's not going to get a lot of money.
I think he just works in that system of how they run things.
Yep.
James White. James White, I could see really. James White actually could have a bigger following than you think. He's actually quite a versatile player.
James White is going to be in Tampa. If Leonard Fournette is not back in Tampa, James White will be there.
And I don't think Fournette's back in Tampa.
I don't either.
I think Fournette's in Pittsburgh.
Because Fournette is going to look at. Fournette's not, he's going to look at, well, here's what, obviously, I didn't do much in the regular season, and you know that because you had him. But he had a tremendous. They don't win that Super Bowl without the play of Leonard Fournette.
Mm-hmm.
Because they don't even make it to the Super Bowl without how he played in the playoffs.
There are 3 running backs in NFL history that has scored a touchdown in every game of the playoffs, and Leonard Fournette's one of them. I can't remember the other 2. I think.
That's why he's Mr. Monitor.
Yeah.
No, I think they would love him in Pittsburgh, given their style. Okay, let me throw this one. So, Chicago's trying to make a deal for Russell Wilson. Let's say somehow Seattle's like, all right, we'll do this deal. We want David Montgomery. I think they'd like Fournette in Chicago.
Yeah.
I'd rather have someone else that's on the list.
Carlos Hyde, Tiger
No.
Early.
Nope.
Yeah, we'll get to the guy he's talking about here in a second. But no, I even said to him, I think Fournette would be a great fit in Pittsburgh. Try to think of where else you could see him potentially going though.
I think Fournette wants to play for a contender in Pittsburgh in that mix. I mean, at least he'd be in the playoffs, I think, in Pittsburgh. Unlike where if he went to somewhere like the Jets who need running back help, he's not going anywhere.
He probably looks at also he's still young, so he probably looks at it. Well, I just got the ring, so I got that out of the way. I'd like to get some money and be able to get the load of the carries.
But who's going to pay him?
Yeah,
This isn't a really good year for anyone to go try and break the bank.
I'm not saying break the bank, but
About everybody we've talked about today, there is literally one person on this list that's worth breaking the bank for, and that's Aaron Jones. Out of all these free agents, that's the one that is gonna. I mean, he's gonna be. Everybody's gonna want him. Even the receivers, the 2 receivers on this list that I would go out and pay,
there's more too.
they were tagged.
Um,
I wouldn't reach for Kenny Galladay. I'm not a fan of him.
we'll come back to receiver.
Okay.
Um, let's see. I mean, Carlos Hyde at this point in his career, he's kind of like just what he was in Seattle this year. Just he's there as a emergency. Now he can perform still. I think when he gets the
He's
carries,
a
but
5 carry per game kind of guy.
same with Coleman. He's kind of like just a role player at this point. Jamal Williams,
He stays in Green Bay.
yeah.
Yeah, he stays.
Gurley's interesting. Gurley's gonna end up somewhere.
No, he's not.
He's not retiring yet. Someone will pay him something. Someone will give him a chance.
Tampa.
Arizona.
I'm gonna throw this one out at you.
It's where
Arizona.
Emmett went to die. So why can't Gurley go there?
Kansas City.
No.
No?
No.
Like
They
comes
got
in.
they got both Williams and
Yeah.
Clyde,
Yeah. Damian Williams coming back this year.
and they're hurting for cap space.
Well, I'm saying he comes, at a cheaper price.
Yeah, but they don't need 4 running backs.
Where else could he go? Where else would be a good fit for him?
Nowhere.
He's still got. I mean, he still can. He can still come in and get production. I'm not saying he's gonna get the bulk of the carries.
He didn't do anything for Atlanta. He was very touchdown dependent. If he didn't score a touchdown, he wasn't. He was only getting like 40 yards a game on 20
Yeah.
touches.
All right, here's the name that I think is a good player, and I know I'm gonna get flack for it. It's one we haven't talked about yet, and I think he's gonna end up somewhere, and I think he's gonna get a decent amount of carries. I'm not saying he's gonna get a decent amount of money. Marlon Mack.
I like him. I like him as a
I
player.
think Mack.
If Seattle wants David Montgomery in exchange for Wilson, I send Montgomery and then go after Mack from Chicago.
that'd be a good fit in Chicago because he's that kind of back.
Yep.
He can catch out of the backfield. He's a 1,000-yard rusher. He was 1,000-yard rusher before Jonathan Taylor was there.
Arizona. Could see him going to Arizona.
I don't see it because of Chase Edmonds. Kingsbury loves Chase Edmonds, and they drafted
Eno Benjamin.
Benjamin last year.
They seem to like him quite a bit too.
Yes. And he's more. Eno Benjamin's kind of like not to the caliber Darren Sproles was, but he's that type of player. He's a small, quick, receives out of the backfield, like Boston Scott is in Philadelphia. That's the kind of player Benjamin is. So I think Arizona's good on backs.
Funny
Now-
fact on Boston Scott. Did you know there's also a Scott Boston on the Eagles?
Is there? Oh. No, I didn't.
Running back.
Really?
Well, great
That's
Scott.
confusing.
It is.
But all in all, I think the overall running back position is there's some players available.
Yeah, there's Jones in his own tier.
I see all these guys ending up somewhere.
Probably.
I know you guys are kind of ripping on Gurley here, but at the end of the day, someone is going to add Todd Gurley. We're going to say,
Like Mark said last year when you guys were talking about me keeping Gurley.
Cowboys.
He said he's gonna go somewhere. He's gonna get his production. What I saw from him last year, being a fantasy owner for a little bit of him, I wouldn't touch him with a 10-foot pole.
What I saw from being a fantasy owner of his last year as well.
Yeah, because I
Is-
traded him to Guy.
he ended up on 3 different teams.
Yeah.
3 different teams.
His knees are done.
Yeah. Although Gurley did in our league end up in good players.
Yes.
You had Herbert and I got Higgins.
So I mean, because of his name, he netted me Herbert and Hugh Higgins. So because of his name, but now his knees are done. He doesn't have the speed or explosiveness. I watched a game, an Atlanta game last year. It looked like Brian Hill was faster than Gurley. And
Yeah.
to say that is bad. So Le'Veon Bell on this list and Todd Gurley on this list, they might as well ride into the sunset together. There's nothing left in their tank.
Oh, Chris Carson. Where do we think he's going to go? He's an interesting. He's a lot like we're talking about Connor, where he does get hurt, but actually, if he stayed healthy, we'd be talking him getting the same kind of money probably as Aaron Jones.
I agree with that.
Hmm.
He's a bruising back. He's not like Jones. Jones is a different breed.
He could be one that could go to Arizona, maybe.
Yeah, yeah. I think if you throw him into a committee type, I've heard him linked with going to Miami with Aaron Jones. I've heard that too.
Hmm.
That Carson takes a smaller deal, Aaron Jones gets the bigger deal, and then you have your more. Aaron Jones can be the power guy, but he doesn't have to be if you got Chris Carson there.
Yeah.
Well, I could also talk about him going to, wouldn't be a horrible fit probably, is Atlanta.
I've heard
Because he doesn't
Atlanta.
have to necessarily, because Atlanta at the end of the day is a throw first
Yes.
team,
Hmm.
so he doesn't necessarily have to.
I just don't think Atlanta would go for another injury-prone running back again.
Yeah. And Atlanta really doesn't have the cap space. But like like it happens every year. We look at these, teams that don't have any cap space, and they end up signing one of these big name free agents somehow,
Right.
some way. They restructure deals that they don't announce. We don't know it, and all of a sudden they have $20 million to sign a Chris Carson.
Um, so, Guy, we have one position, two positions left. You can pick the one we do next: edge or receivers.
Let's go edge.
Is that just because that's one of your favorite guitar players,
No, not at all.
or it's because he's a Hall of Fame wrestler?
More likely.
Actually, no, he is one of my favorite wrestlers
Hmm.
of all time. Yep, Sean, Edge, and then Jericho. So edge rushers. Let's see. None of them were tagged, and it is kind of a who's list here. So we start with Jadeveon Clowney, Tennessee. Shaq Barrett, Tampa, who should have been tagged.
Hmm.
Say his name.
Yannick Ngakwe.
Leonard Floyd of the Rams. Bud Dupree of Pittsburgh. Matt Judon of Baltimore. Melvin Ingram of your Los Angeles Chargers. Carl Lawson of Cincinnati. Hassan Reddick of Arizona. Oliver Vernon of Cleveland.
Olivier.
Olivier. I'm not going to read all the names, but Justin Houston. He's still a high producing player. Carlos Dunlap. He's older, but he just got released from Seattle. Um, Trey Hendrickson. So let's go down these guys. Like I said, Shaq. Now on here it's listed as Clowney. I put Shaq Barrett number one,
Yeah,
Shaq
I
Barrett
would.
is number one.
and in my the way I look at this, Shaq Barrett will be a top 3 money getter out of everyone we've talked about today.
Hmm.
I think all the restructuring Tampa's doing.
They're not going to be able to keep him. They can restructure all damn day. They're not going to have that much money left over to pay this guy. This guy is edge rushers are the highest paid of all defensive players. He is going to get a lot of money to go somewhere. He's not going to take some. I mean, I don't know how they restructure to keep him. It was said. I remember it said they had their choice. They had 3 players, and they could tag one, keep one, and one they'd have to let go. And that's the one they chose to let go.
I just want to see him back in Tampa. I'm not gonna lie.
No, if I was a Buccaneer fan, I'd want to stay in Tampa too. Um, all right, so I do want to examine him here. So let's look at teams that need edge rushers, which obviously what team couldn't use a good one. Okay, John Elway. I'm gonna start with the Broncos. I could see Elway throwing money at him. You got your replacement for Von Miller. I've heard Von Miller getting
Yeah,
completely let go.
I have too. What's their cap space like?
What
Broncos had a fair amount, I thought.
what about this? So the Colts have 46 million. With the defense that the Colts had last year, I had them. I was an owner of them, and
Mm.
they put up numbers every week.
Oh yeah. Throw some. Yeah, I would
You got Darius Leonard and Shaq Barrett on the same team.
do it.
Colts. Shaq Barrett. They got the money to do it.
Well, the Broncos got 32 million.
Yeah,
That's still quite a bit to get a.
but
If you're a player, do you want to go to Denver or Indy, though?
right. But think of this: he just won a Super Bowl ring, so he's got his championship.
Yep.
And it's known around the league that you win a championship, you go wherever they want to give you the money.
Mm-hmm.
What about Buffalo?
Buffalo would be scary too.
Yeah. I don't think they would. Well, they might.
I don't.
I don't feel Buffalo would be a good
Did-
fit for some reason.
Is I don't.
I mean, obviously now we're talking. You're right. You are talking possible scheme that could play a factor because
So-
certain guys.
So here's a question, because I don't know myself. Is Josh Allen still playing on his rookie contract,
Yes. Wait.
or did he get an extension already?
I thought they gave him an extension, or they're going to give him one. I don't remember for sure.
Yeah, that I want to say
So-
he did, but this is the first year it starts.
Sounds right. I like rooting for Buffalo, so I hope they do good. I always kind of.
It's hard for me to root for Buffalo.
That's definitely
I
hard for me
felt.
to
I
root
think
for
it's more because I
Buffalo.
feel bad as they lost 4 in a row.
I'm not. Considering a couple of those, they beat the Dolphins to get there.
No one cares about the Dolphins.
I
No.
do. Dan Marino does.
I don't think Dan Marino really does it. He just pretends.
Okay,
Him and
so
his isotoners.
Jadeveon Clowney.
He's just looking for Ace Ventura, Ray Finkel.
I mean, if he goes somewhere else, that'd make 4 teams in literally 4 years.
See, that's the thing why I don't take too much stock in Clowney. He's good.
If he was that good, he wouldn't be on 4 teams. And
That's the point. It's got to be something to do with his demeanor, his attitude that these teams don't want.
The funny thing is, I think when people think of Jadeveon Clowney, I still think they think of that one hit in the Michigan game.
Yeah.
And that rings out to them, and they're like, "Oh, this guy is like, look, he is a good player. There's no question about it." But he's not even to the level of. I think I'd still rather have Sue, and Sue's older.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not a Clowney fan. I mean, someone will sign him, but I don't care where.
With Yannick, he is a really good player. I never understood why Jacksonville couldn't figure it out to keep him. But again, he's another one. If he goes somewhere else, that's 4 teams in 4 years.
That's because he was on.
Or no,
He was traded.
no,
to
that'd be
Minnesota.
3. It'd be 4 teams in 3 years because he got.
Minnesota. Went from Jacksonville to Minnesota to Baltimore.
Oh, it'd be 4 teams in 2 years.
Yeah.
What's the issue with him?
He wasn't happy in Jacksonville.
Well,
And
Well,
kinda
it's
was-
Jacksonville. I
would be
mean,
Yeah,
happy
so
in
he kind of
Jacksonville.
forced his way out of
But-
there. And
Yeah.
Minnesota, for some reason, just didn't want to pay him.
What's funny is he wasn't happy in Jacksonville. Look at what Jacksonville can do now. They got $74 million cleared
Yeah.
in cap space. The number 1 overall pick that you're gonna get your franchise quarterback.
Imagine Jacksonville with Ngakoue and Ramsey.
Shaq Barrett, Jacksonville.
Start of a new defense.
Yeah, that could be. Over
mean,
the
that-
years from playing fantasy, I have like little fandoms for like a lot of little teams. This from like Fred Taylor was one of my favorite players, so I like Jacksonville because of that.
Well, so I acquired James Robinson. Everybody in our league knows that. So I'm starting to become a Jacksonville fan, and Trevor Lawrence I like. So I might just
We got to take time out.
okay.
So he made a comment here, and it made me think of something. I think anyone that's watched this stream enough knows sometimes they get these rants about things that mean nothing or are completely irrelevant to what we're talking about. He talked about Fred Taylor. I want to talk about the time Fred Taylor played at Jacksonville. I want you to talk about that division. The defenses had to go against Fred Taylor, Eddie George, Jerome Bettis, and Corey Dillon. I mean, that's like a nightmare.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, talk about a division of running backs,
yeah,
of like
that- yeah.
tough hardcore running backs that would hit you and be physical. And oh, actually, you know what? And at the time, I think the division actually had 5 teams because you had Jamal Lewis too.
Yeah. Well, I always liked Jamal Lewis.
Because it was, because it was at one before they created the 4 divisions. It was the Central had Pittsburgh had the Jacksonville. So there was 6 teams in that division at one point, wasn't there? It was Pittsburgh,
Jacksonville.
Cleveland.
I don't remember.
Because there was like a year where they had to have 6.
I don't remember.
Because they didn't, for whatever reason, they didn't have, how'd they do it? It was before they did all the restructure. It was when they added Houston is what made them have to create another division. That's when they created the South divisions.
Mm.
But anyway, I just thought of what a tough running back group that
was.
that division had to face
never
every
thought
week.
about it.
And that's the thing with all those guys. They weren't really receiving backs. They were all power backs that could just burn you. If you didn't hit them, they just run past you. And if you tried to hit them, they're gonna run you over.
I'll go in here and I think Eddie, obviously you guys know I think Eddie George is a Hall of Fame worthy running back. You can disagree or agree with that, but I honestly believe Fred Taylor is a Hall of Fame player and should be the first Jaguar Hall. Well, actually, Baselli should be the first Hall of Fame player from Jacksonville, and then Fred Taylor. The only thing that hurts Baselli is, like we talked about some of these players earlier, is injuries.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when Fred Taylor he went to New England,
that was like just same with what Steven Jackson did, the same thing.
Yeah.
But that was time back in. He said something that made me think of something that I wanted to say. So back to the edge rushers. So now let's go to some of the good young players here, like a Leonard Floyd, who I think he had some time in Chicago before the Rams, if I recall, and he's a young player that I think still, the Rams can't keep him because they don't have the money.
Yeah.
So someone's going to be someone's going to win the lottery there. This is Bud Dupree's first contract he's up for.
Yep.
I heard him tied to New England.
Melvin Ingram.
Well, just because he's getting older, but Matt Judon, he's still young. Mm-hmm. I mean, I know a lot of people love Hassan Reddick. Justin Houston, he can still bring the heat. And
former Chief.
I was actually going to say if they had more room, I would see him going back there.
Mm-hmm.
I really would. Because I remember they traded him, didn't they? He got traded to the Colts.
I think so.
But it was did he go to Chicago first?
Houston?
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
Who went to Chicago from Kansas City? Do you remember? Didn't he get hurt like jumping up and down or something? Who was the player that was in Chicago and he made a sack or a tackle and he started jumping up and down celebrating and got injured? Like he tore his Achilles or something.
Oh.
Are you thinking one of the Gramatica brothers?
No, it was a defensive player.
Sorry, I had to pull that in there.
No, it was a Lion that did that.
It was a lineman?
A Detroit Lion.
Oh, I don't know why I thought it was. Anyways, I think Houston, obviously, like I said, he's older. Carlos Dunlap, I see someone picking him up. Now, he's not going to be a big ad as far as contract. There's a player that could go to, if you just want to add depth, if you have a good defense and just add depth, or even like he could go to Jacksonville on the cheap and work with some of the young players they're bringing in.
I like Okora last year, but he last year was his good year, and now he's a free agent.
Kerrigan's getting old.
Yeah.
And then Alden Smith, he always has kind of off the field issues.
Yeah, I wouldn't touch him.
No, I wouldn't either. But I know a lot of people like Reddick. Carl Lawson. Trying to think, was he at Buffalo before that?
I
don't remember.
But I think Matt Judon is going to get some money though.
Yeah.
Judon and Dupree and Floyd, those 3 are going to be big money winners. Um, but like we said, Shaq Barrett is the cream of the crop. Um, I mean, I think you could actually have gone and said,
I
I
like
think you could actually even say he would be the number one free agent to sign.
behind Aaron Jones, yes. Honestly.
It's easier to get a running back than it is a good edge rusher.
Yeah. Be a good argument.
All right, so what we have left
Wide receiver.
is the wide receiver position, something Guy, of course, enjoys. So we got a few of these guys that already got tagged. So we got obviously the cream of the crop was Chris Godwin. He got tagged.
Mm-hmm.
Allen Robinson, he got tagged, which actually did surprise me a little bit.
I
Yeah.
really wanted to see Allen Robinson go to a team with a legitimate quarterback. Because, like you said, he has a chance to play with a legitimate quarterback if, again, the Russell Wilson deal happens, but he's part of that deal. So, again, you're going to send him over to another team with no
Unless he's
quarterback.
not.
What?
Unless he's not, and that's why they tagged him, so Russell Wilson would have a number one wide receiver to throw to there.
Right.
So I think there's a lot of wheels turning in this one.
Right. Now we got Kenny Galladay, who is an amazing wide receiver. The only downfall is he gets hurt.
Same with Will Fuller.
But
Mm-hmm.
right, but still, they're both going to get a lot of money.
Yes.
I mean, they're going to get, and obviously, a lot of money is not a lot of money this year is not what a lot of money would have been last year, but they're going to still get a fair amount of coin for this year.
But they, the players have to know that the teams can't sign them to a big year deal this year.
Let's look at receivers.
So it could be
You could see a lot of 1-year deals this year too.
I think it's going to be a ton of one-year deals.
Or it could be a backloaded contract.
All right. So all the teams that are listed as needing wide receivers as a top need are Chicago, Cincinnati, the Bucks, which I don't. Well, maybe I don't know why the Bucks are on there. The Bucks don't need a receiver. I mean, you can almost make the argument that the Colts do because T.Y. Hilton probably is on the list.
I don't think the Colts need it either.
Miami does. The Eagles just need receivers that stay healthy. So they're going to probably sign Galladay and Will Fuller.
The Eagles can't.
That's being funny.
Okay.
Because I said they need receivers to stay healthy.
I get it now. I wasn't listening.
The Giants. The Lions. We got the Packers. I mean, the Packers. Adams needs a number 2.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, essentially they throw out what the Valdez, Shantling, and
I honestly think Alan Lazard can be that number 2.
Lazard.
He was hurt. He was proving it, and then had a core injury. I had him on my fantasy team last year. Sat on my IR for 8 weeks. So I think he can be the 2.
I don't think Alan Lazard can be a number 2 because his name is Alan Lazard.
Okay.
The Ravens need a number 2 to go with Marquise Brown.
Could use a number
1. Let's see what else we got here. We got the
I
Titans.
think Hollywood would be a better number 2 than a number 1.
The Titans and the Skins definitely need a number 2. So with that little information, let's look at what we got here. So we got, like I said, Kenny Galladay and Will Fuller.
I've heard Galladay going to the Giants.
Yep, and that's what I was just gonna say.
And the Dolphins I've heard too.
Yep.
Now there's also Juju Smith-Schuster.
He'll go to Washington.
I think Will Fuller ends up in
Oh my God, that'd be a deadly combo. If they get a quarterback.
Yeah.
What, Juju in Washington?
Juju and Terry McLaurin.
That's what I was gonna say. Because I don't feel
With Dwayne Haskins, bringing Haskins back. Oh my God, that offense would light the league up.
Oh my
Will
God.
they go walk into a strip club together?
I don't feel Juju is a number 1. I don't.
No.
I think he needs people around him.
Now here's a name that I'm not necessarily as high on because he didn't live up to the hype as Corey Davis.
He hasn't lived up to the hype, but he showed flashes last year.
Showed flashes, yes,
I think he could be a solid number 2.
Yes, I think it. I think
which is what he was in Tennessee.
Yeah, he should stay in Tennessee.
that's what I'd like to see.
Samuel needs to stay. Curtis Samuel, he needs to stay in Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
He's got
Agreed.
it very good there. And they need to try to just work out just to get, say, hey, if we give you this, will you stay? Now, T.Y. Hilton's another one that's an interesting one because if he was just maybe 2 years younger and a little bit healthier, we could actually take T.Y. Hilton and probably move him up to number 2 on this list.
No,
No.
No?
you're higher on T.Y. Hilton
Yeah.
than most people
If
are.
he was healthier and younger, I'd 5 or 6.
I think if he was younger and healthier, I'd still take Corey Davis.
Next, we got Marvin Jones.
He's small.
He's
He's a
fast.
small
He's
possession
fast,
receiver.
though.
I've heard Marvin Jones would like to go to the Rams, but I don't know how the Rams would be able to pull that one off.
Yeah.
Next up, we have a guy who had a great year last year, and he had some flashes when he was in Philadelphia as well, as Nelson Aguilar.
I think Vegas is going to rework some stuff so they can re-sign him, is what I've been hearing.
I want to see him replace Mike Williams for the Chargers.
Now, Sammy Watkins is an interesting one
He
because
can go away.
Yeah. He's had his chance.
Mm-hmm.
Hasn't shown anything.
let me ask you this: whatever happens with Deshaun Watson, I could see him going there. Wherever, go play with Watson.
No.
Have get the Clemson connection.
Watson is sitting out for the year.
Here's a guy that is virtually done. AJ Green.
Yeah, I would just hang it up.
Someone will sign him,
Yeah.
and he'll get a chance. He'll be third receiver probably somewhere. Maybe depending on the situation, he could go in and be a number 2 if it's a really weak receiving core.
New England.
Um,
Just
yeah.
add him to Philadelphia.
Oh, they need another injured player, so why not? Antonio Brown, kind of like Rob Gronkowski, he's not really going anywhere. It's a
Go to
matter with the
jail.
contract.
No,
I mean,
he wants
no
to
one
go
is
to
going to
jail.
reach out and grab him.
No.
I think someone will take a chance on this guy as well, just to bring him in for a 1-year deal. Is Deshaun Jackson?
I could have 2 big plays and get hurt.
Yeah. I think he's still and Alshon Jeffrey. I think someone will offer him
he's
something.
Done. He will do nothing for any team.
Nope.
I mean, you're telling me you throw out a 4 receiver set just to?
Nope.
He would be my
couldn't.
7th receiver.
Hmm?
He would be my 7th receiver.
I would rather throw out my 7th round draft pick
Now, here's a guy
in that spot.
whose stock rose at the end of the year, and that's Rashad Higgins, which I think he'll get a deal.
I think he'll stay in Cleveland, but he was also like all they had left at that
Right.
time too.
But I think kind of like we were talking Fournette earlier, how the end of the year really was going to help him get a good contract. I think he'll get a solid contract, but he won't pay
won't live
dividends
up
on
to
that
it.
contract.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard Emmanuel Sanders linked to go back to Denver.
I've heard him back to San Francisco.
That's the one, not Denver, San Francisco.
Hell, why not go back to Pittsburgh? Kendrick Bourne.
I think he's okay, but he's not.
No, now we're starting to get down into these are the guys that are the.
I beg to differ. Keenan Cole showed a lot of flashes
Keelan.
last year with a very bad quarterback.
Yeah.
I think he is better than what Jacksonville could show off.
So is D.D. Westbrook.
D.D. Westbrook sucks.
Yeah, Keelan Cole on the right team, he could be a surprise.
Yeah, I mean, I think he could be a 50, 60 catch guy.
Jacksonville had that other rookie receiver last year too.
LaVisca Chenault.
Not besides him. Yeah, no. Is that Colin or something with a C?
We think Fitzgerald final year in Arizona,
Yeah.
Yes.
and then he retires.
Yeah.
Yes.
John Brown just got released from Buffalo. I've heard him linked to the Colts.
Yes, I've
I have
heard that
too.
too. Yeah.
I'm trying to think if there's anyone that I don't have on this list.
I'm trying to think too. I thought there was one I thought of earlier today, but
Um,
Colin Johnson. Sorry, going back for the Jaguars. Colin Johnson ought to look pretty good last year too. So I think that's what made Cole expendable.
apparently this year there's no big name kicker. I know Will was really asking about who the big name free agents in the kicking department were going to be.
And the exception to this list too is also when all the other salary cap casualties come through. This is all changed
Oh yeah,
too.
absolutely. There's other guys that are going to come that we don't
Yeah,
know about. Well, here, you know what? And I don't have a list of names, but I bet we could probably look.
I figure out
So off the Rams, what's going to take a hit? Probably
defense,
defense.
receiving core,
defense, and then Woods and or
Cup.
Cup.
They
That's why I said
probably
receiving
keep Cup
Yeah.
because he's younger.
because they have
Of
Josh
course.
Reynolds. They have Van Jefferson.
Yep.
I think Stafford's going to be unhappy.
hmm
I mean, because I think he's going to a team that he thought was going to be the team that was just a couple years ago was in a Super Bowl, and instead he's getting like a torn apart version of it.
Yeah.
They put a lot of money into that defense, and
Hasn't panned out.
um, probably what Andre Whitworth, he's probably done now.
hmm
They'll probably end up releasing him. He was talking about retirement anyways.
Yeah.
The Saints, their defense is going to take a massive hit.
Well, they just
Um,
released Janoris Jenkins, didn't they?
yep.
Yep.
I've heard also possibility of Latavius Murray will get released.
Uh-huh.
Obviously Sanders just got released. Um, who else? There was another one of the DBs I thought they talked about they were going to have to release. The Eagles. I mean, Ertz will be gone.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, part of the Eagles' big problem is all that cap space they got to eat from trading Wentz.
yeah.
That's the Lions' big issue too. I mean, the Lions are terrible, but they have dead cap money from Stafford.
At least it's not as much as Goff.
Yeah.
How could be $20 million to not be here anymore?
And look at the Bears, negative 17 million.
Okay, fine. Hold on. You want to split the 10 each? He said he paid $20 million not to be here anymore.
Oh, okay.
I'll give you 10. I'll give you 5. It's not your house. Um, so any final words with the free agency part of this meeting? Of this, not meeting, stream.
I don't think so. I think we covered quite a bit. I think there's probably gonna be a lot more popping up over the next month.
Yep. After what?
Hey, don't forget the June 1st stuff too,
Yeah.
because they actually can release those guys. The June 1st cuts actually can happen before June 1st. I don't know how it's set up that way or why, but it's like they can actually make the release now, so the guys can start getting a new team, but they don't take the. Some of that stuff boggles my mind. It seems like if it's a June 1st cut, June 1st is when they get cut.
hmm Yeah, I don't understand. It gets too technical and confusing.
Um, anything else, Tony, before we move on to the AFL portion?
Nope, I got nothing.
All right, I'm actually going to get a quick refill here. If you guys want to quick go to the bathroom or get a drink, you already got your.
Yeah, I'm gonna run to the bathroom real quick.
We'll take a quick break here. So come right back, and we're going to have the second half of this, and it'll talk about the American Football League, Fantasy League. many trees. All right. And we are back. So now we're going to talk about, let's see, we're going to talk about our fantasy league here a little bit. I want to talk first. Let's talk about some of the trades that, nope, before we come to trades, let's talk about, this is kind of a quick, small tutorial to Megan and Jimmy, not Jimmy, oh my God, Jimmy, Megan and Kyle, who are taking over teams, and I'm with two guys, well, actually, literally with a guy and
One and
another,
only.
the one and only, the great one, um, and this guy.
Little hobbit.
I wouldn't classify yourself that big, buddy. Um, but they're two new owners. You're two that took over teams. You obviously won it all in your first year, and in your first year,
I was very close to
you
winning
took it
it.
all the way to just you
Two bad decisions. Two
choked in
bad
the final.
decisions.
But so basically, all I want to do is just kind of quick tell them a little bit how the league works, more or less some of the rules that we have that are a little different. And I want, if I miss something, I want you guys to throw it out there. So the trades. So I know there was some confusion on Kyle's part. I just want to make him understand how trades work. So we have two phases in our trades. Phase one starts at the meeting, and that goes all the way to the keeper date. And how that works is you're basically allowed to trade whatever you want. Just understand at the end, you can only keep a certain amount. So this year it's 5, next year it's 10. Um, and anytime you trade a draft pick, you have to have an equal number of draft picks coming back. So if you trade a first, you have to get at least a last round pick coming back in return. The exception is after the keeper date. After the keeper date, you can trade a player for a draft pick straight up. The whole point is at the end, for me to put in all our rosters after the draft, everything has to be equal. So that's how the trading works. But as far as if you trade for someone, like I traded for a bunch of players last year, I didn't keep. You know, I just maybe trade for someone that think, well, I can turn them into this, or well, I'll trade them, see what happens with them. You essentially are trading for the rights to the player until the keeper date. Um, Another rule that we have is quarterbacks. Um, you're only allowed to have two starting quarterbacks on your roster, with the exception of a rookie. As far as the draft, though, you can only have. How does it go? You can only, yeah, it's the same way. You can
Same
only
way.
draft. You can only have two starting quarterbacks, period, unless you have one of them as a rookie. For example, Guy had Justin Herbert, Joe Burrows, and Patrick Mahomes at one point last year. And the reason he could have three is because two of them were rookies. There also is a max limit of three quarterbacks on your roster. Depending, obviously, if you have a player on IR. For example, who's someone that had one on IR? There's someone that had, I know, four quarterbacks because they had one on IR. So
Will.
you could actually, yeah, you could actually have,
Will
let's say,
did.
you could have five quarterbacks if two of them are on IR. Yep, will. So that's that. And if you have if you end up with three quarterbacks that are starters that aren't rookies. So for example, let's say you have Patrick Mahomes. Um,
Justin Herbert and Tua Tagovailoa.
no, that's not the example I was going for.
That's
Um,
three starting quarterbacks.
no, it is, but it's not the example I was going for.
That's our three starting quarterbacks.
Let's say you have this. Let's say you have Patrick Mahomes, and then you acquire Russell Wilson in a trade, and then you acquire who else do you want to get? No, if you have, let's say you have Russell Wilson and Patrick Mahomes, and then you have Andy Dalton, and who like last year, and then Prescott gets hurt, and then Dalton starting, you have to release one of the three.
In
Um,
that case, it'd be Andy Dalton.
I think in his case, he'd probably say I'd rather have Dalton than Mahomes.
Yeah, probably. Mahomes isn't that good. I'd probably just cut him
I
anyway.
I would rather have Dalton than Prescott because
Overrated.
I hate the Cowboys.
That's true. I agree.
Um, what other kind of tricky little rules do we have?
I'm
Those are
still
kind of
not
the big
sure.
ones. I can't
Yeah.
really think of anything else. I mean, really, the trading is pretty wide open. There's no vetoing on trading.
Just
There's no waiver wire,
the,
so
the
if a
the
player
draft
is
picks have
dropped, you
to
can
stay
be
even.
picked up instantly. Hmm?
The draft picks have to stay even, and after the
Yep.
this is how I summed it up. Being the new guy to the league last year is the draft picks had to stay even through the first phase. After the first phase, you had to have 10 spots filled on your. So whether you have 9 players
And
in a
11 draft
draft
picks.
pick or 11 players and you're missing a draft pick.
Shoot, there was one year we had. There was one year where I think it was my dad, which was Will's team now, had I think 13 players on his roster going into the draft.
But he was missing 3 draft picks.
Right. Um, what else do we got? Like I said, trades are wide open. There's no waiver wire. There's something else I was going to throw out there. What you'll find in our league is about half the league is very excited to do trades. You're looking at 3 of the individuals who probably are doing a lot of trades or in a lot of trade talk. Um,
It wasn't at first when I started, but once I got into it a little bit
Last year,
more.
I kind of lit the league on fire with trades.
I,
I
I
was
I had
moving.
more than
I
you
would
did.
trade. I would trade for a person and really like that trade, and then the next day I'd come up with a completely different trade and reach out to somebody else and trade that player away to get another player.
Oh, I know. I know. What I was gonna say. You can actually trade like the NFL. A lot of this league is meant. The way this league is set up, it's meant to give you the opportunity to actually feel like you're running an NFL franchise.
Hmm.
You can trade as many years out as you want. For example, I already have 3 first-round draft picks in 2024. I mean, how many fantasy leagues can you say that you have draft picks already traded out 3 years away?
True.
Not many, not many, and that's like I said, that's how this. We've talked about other things in this league. I brought up the idea of having an actual salary cap that got shot down. It would be tricky. There are certain things that are trickier to do. What you two will find out with me, I'm sure these guys can attest to it, drives Jimmy nuts. I'm always looking at ways to tweak things and perfect things and shake things up.
Hmm.
We have our draft lottery, which you both were obviously aware of because you were a part of it. And both of you should be very happy because Megan, you went from 5th place, from having the 5th pick to the 4th pick. And Kyle, you went from having the 9th pick to the
6th, I think.
no 8. He went to 8.
Oh,
Rich went from 10 to 6.
That's the one that went up.
Um, so it's just the way it's just, and that's only the first round. It's so what the draft lottery is for is for the 10 teams that don't make the championship playoff, and they get put in. There's a set number of balls essentially they're numbered inside, and then we draft and we pull them out and we get the number. So there's the first pick, and then we go through until all 10 slots are filled, and then we, like you saw, we open them up, and I think only one position actually stayed where they were supposed to, and that was 3, which was Mark. Everyone else either went up or down. Dennis, he had the second most amount, and he actually ended up getting the first pick. So it's a fun way to keep to make the meeting fun, I think.
And this way, with the lottery, Eric, you didn't touch on this. Um, it stops people from tanking.
Yeah, and also it also helps people say, well, I want to maybe try for the best of the rest, and say, hey, like look at Rich. He he won the best of the rest, and he got the 6th overall pick. I mean, he moved up from 10 to, that's a lot.
Hmm.
And we did talk about, it was brought up by Will actually about having a computer, and other people have actually mentioned the computer idea. And I think and I'd like to hear your guys' input on this. If we had a computer do our draft lottery this year, Some of it may move. Like for example, Dennis may still get the number one pick. Christina may still end up second. Will may still end up third. I don't see a scenario where a computer would have um, Rich, who only had 4 balls in the hamper of 300, would go from 10 to 6. I don't think a computer would project that.
Yeah, hard to say.
I mean, it's worth trying
See how it is.
and running some tests and stuff through this 2021 season.
I just look at it. I see it. I see
What
the.
about this? Get the computer version of the random generator and just keep running it, and whoever's name like comes in the first pick, the first of three gets the first pick. Whoever's second, so on. So you probably have to run it like 1,000 times.
I mean, another way we could do it is just have a battle royal. We'll put the 10 people in a ring over the top rope. Last man standing or woman standing.
Just give me a 2x4, a really long 2x4.
Yeah, Hacksaw Jim Duggan.
You're right.
Or how about this? Do a bidding. Highest bid gets first pick. Put it all into the pot for the championship.
Um, what else? Is there anything else you guys can think of that we have as kind of rules that are not norm? Obviously, the scoring you guys can look up. If you just go to the app, there's a section where I think you hit scoring. It'll show you how the stuff scores. A lot of, for example, it's a point for every yard. Touchdowns are 25 points. Um,
Now, one thing you haven't touched on really is I don't know how much Kyle and Megan has played fantasy football before. Is it individual defense players?
Oh, we have individual defensive players along with the team defense. So our starting lineup goes like this. Actually, you guys can if you view your roster, you'll see how many we start. But it's a quarterback, 3 receivers, 2 running backs, a tight end, a flex position, which can be any receiver or tight end or running back. Of course, the famous kicker is in there. We love the kicker. And team defense, and then we have 1 defensive line, 1 linebacker, 1 defensive back, and then 1 flex defensive spot, which can be any of those 3 extra. The way the defense works, random numbers off my head, you get 10 points for an individual tackle. I want to say it's 5 points for a solo. I mean, 10 points for a solo. 10 points for a solo, 5 points for an assisted tackle. 16 points, I think, is a sack. I want to say interceptions around there too.
I think it's 15.
Hmm?
I think it's 15 for an interception.
I think the interception may be closer to 20. Like I said, you can see that you can actually look up the individual points, how they break down. I don't remember them offhand. I do apologize for that. But one thing about the individual defensive players is it adds us something different than most people see. And like I've said, I would love to see a team win a championship on their defense.
I was a big component being my first year in the league. I like the individual defensive players. I want to see it expand. Whether we decide to keep one more flex or, 2 linebackers to start or, 2 linebackers, a defensive lineman, corner, and a flex. Or DB, I should say. But I like it.
Just to give you both a little individual history of your own teams that you've taken over. Kyle, you're taking over a charter team. Only one owner that we ever had was Ross Carlson. Your team has been in the finals 3 times.
You're the Buffalo Bills.
Have never run it, so you've always been the runner-up 3 times. You have 3 division titles to your team's history. You've been to every playoff but 2. So you've been to 5 playoffs. You have honestly a very, very strong roster, as you can see. Your team was the number 1 scoring team in 2020. His was number 2. You were number 3.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, very, very, very stable team. Always has been. And then Megan, you're taking over Raymond's team, which also a charter team, was only owned by Raymond. Was in the playoffs once, very first year. Um, Unfortunately, has had some very lackluster years. Finished 12th 3 times, 14th once, 13th once, and 16th once. So, but it has actually a decent roster to play with. So, and plus you have that 4th overall pick, which will be nice. And then you pick, I think, 5th every round after that. That's the history of your guys' teams. Our championship playoff consists of the 4 division winners, 2 wild cards, which are, of course, the 2 top record teams that aren't division winners. And then the next top 6 teams are in what we call the best of the rest tournament. And that also gets a trophy as well. Um, Anything else you guys can think of?
I think you pretty much covered it.
Yeah. And also you guys are in a good position because both of you have dads, Anthony and Rich, who've been in the league, so you guys can always lean on them for whatever questions you may have if you can't contact me or whatever. So yeah, welcome to the league, and we wish you both the best of luck.
Welcome. Welcome.
So now I want to talk about. Let's talk about. You want to talk about potential keepers for 2021, or do you want to talk about trades first? You can pick this time.
Let's go trades.
Let's go trades. You always like talking trades,
I do.
I love trades.
and you're always in the work for a good trade.
I have good players that I'd like to keep, but
I kind of traded myself out of trades. I got one more that I possibly could make, but can't find any takers. So
And who's that? If you want to mention him right now.
Keenan Allen is up for sale. Anybody wants Keenan Allen?
yeah, if anyone thinks that Patrick Mahomes or Joe Burrow have a future, I have them both.
Mahomes might have a future.
He looks all right.
Solid.
He's got a decent arm.
Good looking wife.
I agreed.
All right, so the trades that have taken place that are not, we're not talking 2021. These are actually, these are trades that are going to be for 2022. So, well, actually, you know what? I want to come back to that. Where's my phone? Let's talk about the trades that have actually taken place so far.
That's what I thought we were going to hit on.
It was. I was first just going to go over the. I think that was the very first one. All right, so I know we had the one trade where I had it with. There was the one trade. Let me pull this up. Well, here we'll go. Let's go with this one. So we had. I traded a 2021 10th round pick to Rich for linebacker Darius Leonard and the 2021 18th round pick. So essentially, I was acquiring Darius Leonard, and Rich moved up 8 rounds in a year where there's obviously more drafting. 10th round pick actually is going to net you possibly a starting defensive player. Could be your starting kicker, your team defense, somewhere in there. For one of his very last picks. Actually, it is his very last pick, is what I acquired.
So we have this one.
And then, so that trade. Oh, so this guy over here traded running back Joe Mixon, and then his 7th round, 15th round, and 16th round pick to Anthony for a 2nd round pick, a 4th round pick, and a 7th round pick. So, why Joe Mixon?
Well, I like Joe Mixon, but I was also getting to the point where depending how trades go and scenarios, I could have had 3 or 4 Bengals in my starting lineup. And I don't like to typically have more than 2 from the same team. So it was kind of like a almost kind of like a salary cap situation where like I couldn't really hang on to them because of only keeping 5 players this year, as well as not wanting to have, 3 to 4 of my 5 Bengals. So I thought it was a trade that needed to be done. And I think it worked out all right. And you never know until you see who you get, but I was happy with the
I I,
return.
I actually like that trade because I mean you're very smart when it comes to drafting. You're do your research, and that's one thing I can say to Kyle and Megan. Do your research before the draft, or you're not going to draft
Yeah,
well.
everyone knows the top 3 to 5 players at position. Like, don't even bother looking those ones up. It's always the
You don't,
later ones.
and I can attest to this, and you won in your first year too. Um, I took over the 15th place team, and I brought it to the second place by trades and doing my research on the draft. I didn't have high draft picks. Well, I did, but I traded most of them away last year. This year's even worse for me, so I got to dig even deeper because I most of my drafting has to happen in the seventh, eighth, and ninth round is where I have most of my picks. So I have to do my research. I got to know these players and draft well.
My first year when I won it, I actually came into the league, took a team over, and did not have a first round draft pick. So I started out like, okay, no first rounder. See what I can do from here. I was able to still get enough players that made a difference and won.
But look at Kyle. He's come into a situation. He actually has 2 first-round picks
Hmm.
and probably the most loaded roster in the league.
Yeah.
He's got some tough decisions.
Yeah.
Hmm.
The very first trade that I was going to mention that I couldn't, I just found it. So I traded wide receiver CeeDee Lamb, quarterback Tua Tagliavola.
Tagovailoa.
It's your
It's pretty bad. He's
quarterback
my
name.
quarterback, and I can't even say his name. And then it was also included I sent a 2022 third round pick, a 2023 first round pick, and a 2024 second round pick to Jordan for a 2022 first, a 2023 fifth, and a 2024 first. And
So first, when I saw this trade come through, I'm like, huh, Jordan got ripped off.
did he?
And then a couple days later, I made a very similar trade. So I can't say much. But really, he didn't. Now, I looked at it, and he got CeeDee Lamb for nothing, which was what the eighth overall pick last year, ninth.
It was the eighth overall pick. He actually was top 10 receiver. He actually has, so on his roster, he has, I think, the ninth and 10th uh, ranked receivers from last year.
Yeah.
Mike Davis and now CeeDee Lamb. Jordan does.
So yeah, it was a good pick. He gave away future draft picks to do it, but now he's got a legitimate keeper in CD Lamb for years because
Hmm.
he's
And also, you got to understand, Jordan doesn't have a first, second, or third round pick. He doesn't pick to the fourth round. Guy, would CeeDee Lamb be there in the fourth round?
No,
Um,
guarantee you.
So then we go to the next deal, which this gentleman did. So he sent Leonard Fournette and a 2021 fifth round pick to Dennis for a 2021 third round pick, which actually is the second overall pick in the third round. You want to talk about that trade real quick?
yeah. With my team, I have AJ Dillon, which I'm really high on. I took him 11th overall last year. I think he's going to be a monster in Green Bay. I want to keep him, but I didn't have the space if I had Leonard Fournette on my roster with James Robinson there too. Um, then I have Justin Herbert. So I had to make a move to get rid of one of my running backs. I looked at Dennis's team and saw he had Mark Ingram. That's it. That's all he's got for running back. So I reached out to him, tried to get a second round from him. He wasn't going for that, so I went with a third. Um, and in this year's draft, a third pick is like a first round draft pick any other year. So to me, I'm gonna get a good receiver at that spot to fill my third receiver spot, or maybe a linebacker.
So the next trade that took place actually involved us. So I traded wide receiver AJ Brown, linebacker Darius Leonard, a 2022 second round, a 2023 second round, and a 2024 third round to Tony for a 2022 first, a 2023 sixth, and a 2024 first. He doesn't pick until what in the second round?
15th.
Would AJ Brown be available there at the 15th pick of the second round?
No.
If AJ Brown was there, or if he was able to be drafted, he'd go in the first round.
Yeah.
Or at the least, he'd be in the first, probably 2 or 3 in the second.
Right. So I traded away next year's first round and 2024's first round, and I essentially got a first round draft pick this year in form of a player.
You're paying nothing this year.
Yeah.
It's like you just bought a TV from Best Buy and you have 24 months of no interest.
Oh. Did you just do that? About a month
Let's
after I
see.
bought a
And then the
70.
final
Jeez.
deal.
I bought a 75.
The final deal that we have is involved Nick and Jimmy. And Nick Ritz traded wide receiver Chase Claypool and a 2021 10th round pick to Jimmy for a 2021 third round pick.
What's funny about this trade right here is Jimmy originally drafted Chase Claypool, dropped him mid-season. Ritz picks him up. Jimmy trades back for him. So Ritz looks like a genius.
I hate it when you drop a player and end up having to trade back for him.
I know. Or if you really want a player and somebody else drafts him, so you got to give him a second round pick for him to get him
Well,
back.
in Nick's case, because he and I talked about this, he had no intention of keeping Claypool. So I mean, getting a third round pick for a 10th round pick is I'd say it's a good move
Yeah, that's gold.
for something you were going to keep anyways.
I actually reached out to him, but Jimmy beat me.
I actually said to him, "How fast is Mark going to move one of those picks?"
I really, really thought Mark would jump on Claypool and
like
trade.
give up a second or something.
Yeah,
like
I thought Mark would give away one of his seconds to get Claypool.
But I mean, that was. I don't know how. It was almost within not even an hour
Yeah.
of Nick announcing. It was like quick. All of a sudden, I got the thing from Jimmy. I'm like, wow, he just announced it too.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are all the. So as far as we had some for the 2022 have already taken place a year ago. So for example, Mark gets Will's first round pick next year, and Will gets Mark's 12th. Mark gets Guy's first and second round pick next year, and Guy receives the 13th and 14th round pick next year. Gonna make big use of those, right?
Hopefully.
And then, like we said earlier, I have Jordan and I have Tony's first round picks, and then Jordan has my third, Tony has my second. And then in 2023, Mark gets Guy's first round pick, and Guy gets Mark's 14th.
There's a pattern here.
Um,
It was the heat of the moment.
Mark and Eric get a lot of first round draft picks in the next couple years.
so the thing with Guy and Mark, that actually had to do with one player. It happened during. Now, another thing that you will not see at other fantasy, unless Guy, correct me if I'm wrong on this, you don't see trading going on during a fantasy draft.
Not typically.
Right.
hmm
Maybe a little bit, but not.
My other leagues I'm in, we do it after the draft is done, but nothing during.
I mean, this is literally during the. Oh, hold on, and they're like literally working out the deal right there on the floor.
Yeah.
Yep.
Uh,
Yeah, I'm sitting behind him at the table, and all I hear is Mark and Guy whispering to each other the entire time, or they texting each other.
I think there was some blowing in the ear too, wasn't
There
there?
could have been.
Some
Um,
caresses.
and then all of a sudden, guy looks at Mark and says, "Do you want to do this?" Mark's like, "Yep, yep, I do." And then all of a sudden they announce it, and it was just insane.
I think if you've watched the video, I actually turned and I grabbed the championship
Yes,
trophy
you
and just
did.
go, here you go.
Yeah.
Because I looked at him like, oh my God, he's got Mahomes, he's got McCaffrey, um,
Mixon.
he's got Mixon,
But that's the thing with
but
fantasy
injuries happen.
football.
Yeah.
He got injured. He had the second scoring team, just didn't even make the playoffs with the second scoring team because of injuries.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
And I,
like what happened to me in the championship, I had Keenan Allen, Hunter Henry, and James Robinson all hurt for the finals.
yeah.
So
After
I
the draft,
started Dolphins players, and I will never own another Dolphins player in my life.
It's fine with me. Not hurt my feelings. They wouldn't want to be on
As
your
you
team
load up on
anyways.
Chargers players, that's got to tell somebody you're loyal.
They don't have a coach that chokes in the clutch.
How many times have you been to the finals?
Moving along. So let's look at some of these rosters and just see potential. Now, obviously, we could still have trades take place. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna hand this to Tony, and then we're gonna talk about Efren here. And Tony, I want you to pick the 5 players off Efren's roster you would keep if you were Efren.
Derrick Henry is a must. DJ Moore, probably Curtis Samuel and Matt Ryan, and Elvin Ingram or Melvin Ingram or Melvin Gordon.
Who?
Yeah, I didn't even see Melvin Gordon on there. It's hard to reach.
Would you pick? I mean, basically the same, or is there anything different you would do?
on Efren's, yeah, probably the same.
I think the one argument you could make for is the Curtis Samuel. You could potentially, depending what happens in free agency, because our keeper isn't until June 1st, so you're going to see free agency
yeah.
and the NFL draft. What happens with Marlon Mack could actually be a changer, because if he goes to the right situation, or Devontae Parker, those are the 2 names I think that you would switch out with Curtis Samuel.
Yes.
I would actually, if Marlon Mack goes to a decent team, he's a starter. I would prefer Marlon Mack over
Melvin Gordon.
Melvin Gordon.
You wouldn't want all 3, just keep all 3 of them?
Melvin Gordon's waste.
Okay.
It's
And I would
lazy
go the
tackle
exact
kinda
same
waste.
route that he just said. The same 5 he kept, except like I said, the exception of Marlon Mack, I would substitute him out with
Depending on landing spot.
I would substitute that one out with probably Curtis Samuel.
I'd either go Curtis Samuel or Melvin Ingram. Because with Melvin Ingram, you got Lindsey also in Denver that they second round tendered him, so he will be back in Denver next year. So that's a timeshare.
So and Efren, of course, was the 2020 world champion. We'll come back to Jimmy. My team is pretty at this point because I've traded a lot of it away. I'll just go ahead and I can almost announce it. Barring a retirement or barring, I guess, a massive injury, the career-ending injury, it'll be Kelvin Ridley, J.K. Dobbins, Ezekiel Elliott, Jonathan Taylor, and who am I missing? Oh, and Devin White, the linebacker. Any thoughts on? Would you guys do differently if you had my roster,
No,
I'd probably cut Taylor.
or you would just flat trade him to Guy for nothing?
Yeah, that too. I'll give you a second round pick for him.
I'd get rid of those 2 Ohio State running backs.
You want Bosa?
I don't want both.
Dennis. Josh Allen, I think we can all agree on is
Oh,
who.
hands down.
I think we're going to all agree that he'll keep Fournette, Chris Godwin. I think the fine tooth spots, there's some discussion though. The fine tooth spots, I think it's between essentially 3 players. Amari Cooper, Mark Ingram, who before wouldn't have been, but now that he signed with Texans, I think that's a possibility. And Adam Thielen.
I heard a report today that Dallas is trying to move Amari Cooper.
To who?
Whoever will take him.
Oh,
Whoever will take him, because he's such a big cap space. And if that happens, the CD Lamb looks even better for Jordan.
yeah.
Whoever gets Michael Gallup looks even better for him. Because I have Gallup now, so I got to let him go.
I actually heard rumor of Thielen getting moved.
That would be. That might benefit Thielen. It probably won't, though, because he's kind of in a good situation.
Yeah.
If I were to pick, I'd go Josh Allen, Amari Cooper, Mark Ingram, uh, Godwin, and Fournette.
Yeah, I think that's
Sounds legit.
let Thielen go.
Yep.
We'll come back to you.
Oh, Mike's.
Yours is pretty easy. So
Yeah.
Justin Herbert. Go ahead. That's your team.
Herbert, AJ Brown, AJ Brown, AJ Dillon, um, Darius Leonard, and James Robinson, the guy I always forget.
You should pick up AJ Green.
I should get AJ Green. I should just go for all AJs.
One year I drafted as many Johnsons as I could. I had Chad Johnson, Brad Johnson, Keyshawn Johnson.
Who has? Who is AJ Green?
Jordan.
You should offer him just like a.
The 15th round pick.
I wouldn't keep him though.
Well, no. I mean, you're just saying all the AJs. But
I'll just
I
draft
sort
him.
of want like right now. Look at your. This is your defense right now. You have Zach Cunningham, Buda Baker, Miles Garrett, Levante David, and Darius Leonard.
I know.
You did have.
There's your 5.
Yeah, and watch Justin Herbert, and
You're set for defense.
I am.
You can prove everyone wrong, so you don't need an offense to win.
I almost
What
did last year.
Let's go to Anthony now. Guy you know pretty well. Won his division this year. So I think we can all agree that he'll keep Kyler Murray,
Nope.
Justin Jefferson,
Nope.
David Montgomery.
Nope.
2 spots left. I'd say the discussion between those 2 spots are between probably Juju, Tyler Lockett, Kenyon Drake.
I don't think Tyler Lockett's in that conversation.
I don't think Lockett is either.
So it's pretty much Drake and Schuster.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Even if let's say
Yep.
even if what do you call it? Even if Wilson stays in.
I don't care. Lockett's not a keeper.
No. Not in a 5-keeper year.
I don't know if he's a keeper in a.
Oh
Good
wait,
keeper.
Joe Mixon. Yeah, I
Oh,
forgot
yeah.
he acquired
Oh
Joe
yeah.
Mixon.
Yeah. So it'd
Yeah.
be Joe
I
Mixon.
mean, he should probably keep him.
So then we go what? Kyler Murray, Justin Jefferson, David Montgomery,
Joe Mixon.
Joe Mixon, and then it's between
take
Juju and
Juju.
Drake.
I'd take
Juju.
Juju over Drake. Because Drake's going to be in a timeshare.
Yeah. All right, Ergang. Go ahead. I mean, I think.
I'm not going into Ergang. I don't like him either. So,
Cost you a division title.
yes, he did.
He kicked your butt. So
Twice. Lamar Jackson.
well, he'll keep Lamar Jackson. He'll keep Miles Sanders, Austin Eckler, Terry McLaurin. So the final spot is essentially between, I'd say, Baker Mayfield and possibly Naeem Hines and
I wouldn't keep Hines.
Corey Davis. Unless he decides to keep, I mean, he's kept him every year, but I don't know if he keep.
On his roster, I would not keep Baker Mayfield. I'd let him go, and I would honestly keep either Jamison Crowder, depending on where he ends up, or Corey Davis, depending on where he ends up, and Justin Tucker. Because Justin Tucker is going to get you that 1,500 points.
Yeah.
It sucks that I'm saying to keep a kicker.
I think we should all keep a kicker. I think that should be mandatory.
No.
11 keepers, but one has to be a kicker.
Or keep it at 10 and one has to be a kicker.
How about we keep it at 2 and one has to be a kicker?
How about we make it 9 and one has to be a defensive player?
How about we make it? How about we make it 7, and 4 have to be individual defensive players. You have to keep at least one team defense and one kicker.
So the next team we're gonna go over.
No, I'm just kidding. All right, let's talk about 3-time league champion Nick Ritz.
A lot of friendly hate here.
Um, pretty much assuming he's keeping Stafford. Kareem Hunt.
Cam Akers,
God, it gets
DeAndre
interesting. Okay,
Swift.
so
Yeah, you got to keep Cam Akers.
Swift,
Hmm.
Kenny Galladay.
and then the final spot is between probably Galladay. I mean, do you make a discussion for Boyd?
No.
Nope.
Sutton,
Ooh.
Sutton or Galladay?
Depends where Galladay goes.
Yeah, because
I'm gonna go Sutton. I'm gonna keep Sutton as my
I'm
5.
I'm gonna say depending on where Galladay goes and who's throwing to
Hmm.
Sutton. Because if Locke's throwing to Sutton again and uh, Galladay ends up somewhere like Seattle, that Russell Wilson's still there, I want Galladay all day long.
Let's see. Let's go to Kyle. I think this is a pretty easy roster to figure out. Russell Wilson, Devontae Adams,
Hmm.
DeAndre Hopkins,
Hmm.
Alvin Kamara,
Yep.
Travis Kelsey.
Yep.
I don't know what player. I mean, obviously and then he's also got to consider. He's got Allen Robinson and Chris Carson
And Ronald Jones.
and Ronald Jones. And Chris Carson and Allen Robinson we talked about in the free agency
Yeah.
portion, but
Good players, but they're not in the top 5.
I think anyone would give to have this situation.
So
I used to have that situation.
so in our draft, we're looking at 3 potential first round picks right there.
Chris Carson, Ronald Jones. I don't know if Allen Robinson goes in the first round.
He may.
I
I wouldn't take him, but somebody might.
No,
I
with
could
all
see
the rookie
second round,
receivers,
maybe.
yeah, there's no way.
I can't see him in the first round.
There,
I think people are the only thing that the running backs that aren't rookies, there's potential for those going in the first round. I don't know of any receiver that we haven't. Obviously, there's some we still have to mention. The receivers, all our receivers are going to be our rookie ones in the first round. Jameer Chase, Devontae Smith, so Wendell, Waddle.
Bateman.
I know there's another one I'm forgetting.
Tony.
Oh, Tooney from Florida.
Tony, yeah.
Yeah, I think they'll go before. But I mean, obviously, I mean, you look at his if this was a 10 keeper year, he's keeping Russell Wilson, Devontae Adams, DeAndre Hopkins, Allen Robinson,
Alvin
Kamara, Carson, Kelsey, Ronald Jones, and then he probably keeps Roquan Smith, and after that, I'm not
Sam
sure.
Darnold.
He might keep Jesse Bates. I don't know. I mean, let's just say he has a strong roster to pick from.
Maybe he keeps Rashard Penny because there's no starting running backs in Seattle.
That'd be a good reason not to keep him, though.
Penny's another one that's one of those injury, like really, really injury prone, way overrated coming out of college.
I also just wanted to say you're welcome for this team because I've drafted for it for the last 2 years.
We do have some people that can't make. Well, you want to talk about that? You're talking. I've basically drafted for this team. So Rich, so he has DK Metcalf. That's definitely a keeper who I drafted for him. Stefan Diggs, I think he acquired in a trade. That's a keeper. Aaron Jones is a keeper. I think he acquired him as a free agent a couple of years ago. So there's 3. The other 2 spots go to Michael Thomas, who I drafted for him, and Antonio Gibson, who I drafted for him.
Solid.
Yeah.
And then he's got the 6th overall pick in the draft, which more likely would be a quarterback. The only other person you would maybe make an argument for is, I guess, trade out Antonio Gibson for Kirk Cousins.
Nope.
Nope.
No, I mean, I'm just saying if you were going to make an argument.
I,
No, we're
I
not
would
making an
never
argument.
never keep a quarterback over a running back if possible.
Especially
So,
Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
so now we go to Megan's team. And we were actually talking about this team earlier off stream, and this one had some good discussion, I think, going. So I want, because this one actually had different opinion of all of them. So you had name your 5 for Megan.
On her team, I would keep Marquise Brown, Nick Chubb. I'm going to go out on a limb and say Gabriel Davis.
Mm-hmm.
So that's 4,
3.
3. Um, Julio Jones. I keep Ryan Tannehill.
4. Life.
What?
Never mind. It's a wrestling thing. He'd get
Oh.
it.
See, I'd probably go Chubb, Julio, Marquise Brown. I do like Gabriel Davis. And then I think it's probably Mark Andrews or sneaky side Jordan Poyer.
And I would keep Marquise Brown, Nick Chubb, Mark Andrews, Julio Jones, and my 5th spot would go between a couple people. One is Philip Lindsay, I'd consider. I would consider Tannehill, and I would actually consider Beckham, depending situation of where he goes. If he's moved or what his state of mind. Obviously, you get to June 1st to figure that out. If he's in a good place, then actually I think I would keep Beckham.
I'd take Gabriel Davis over Beckham.
But I think I would actually lean heavily on my 5th spot going to Philip Lindsay.
I'd still take Davis over.
I just can't get behind Lindsay.
Nope. That
Um,
timeshare with Melvin
Yeah.
Gordon.
See, then we got Christina. And let's see. So I think we can agree on most of this roster. So Carson Wentz, I think we'd agree she'll keep him.
Mm-hmm.
I think we can agree that she'll keep Saquon Barkley.
Yep.
I think we can all agree she'll keep T.Y. Hilton.
Depending on landing spot, he is a free agent.
Well, like I said, you got to look at the roster now.
Well, I'm sure she is too. And she's
I think the final spots, I think the considerations are, and again, we talk about, I think James White is a consideration. I think Cole Beasley actually could be a consideration because he does actually get quite a bit of stats.
I like Cole Beasley because Josh Allen is just a beast and he throws the
So
ball.
those are the
all
5
over
I would keep. I think
And
you could make a discussion for Demarcus Robinson with Sammy Watkins possibly leaving. He might get some more catches there. I don't know if something was to happen as far as a move or on Johnson. I'm trying to think of scenarios where you could.
Yeah.
I don't think any of the defensive players you keep. It could maybe make an argument for the Chiefs' defense. But yeah, but hey, she's got the 2nd overall pick and the 5th overall pick to go with this, so she can turn this around.
yeah, she can.
Make it a lot stronger. I will come back to those two gentlemen. Let's talk about the guy who made a lot of trades last year, and that's Will. It was all in for 2020. And I would keep off his roster.
Nobody.
No. Dak Prescott would be a
Yep.
keeper.
Josh Jacobs.
Josh Jacobs would keep. I think James Conner is going to be a keeper. The final two spots, I think discussion is Le'Veon Bell, which I think he actually will keep because
I
he
would
actually
not.
traded away Saquon Barkley to get him.
I don't see that. I would
Um,
keep Cup and Woods over.
you might go. What about Cup and Jones?
Depending on landing spot for Jones.
I don't know. We know he likes the running back though too, so I think he keeps Bell. I think he keeps three running backs. Three running backs: Dak Prescott and Cooper Cup. That's what I'm gonna say. What do you think?
Probably let me take a look at it. Yeah, probably.
So essentially, I'm Bell Cup, you're Woods and Cup, and you said you're about the same as me, or
Eh,
I mean, I guess you can make an argument for Marvin
it's a
Jones
toss
depending
up.
where he goes in free
He was still
agency.
solid last year.
Yeah. Unfortunately, Will does not have a pick until the 6th round, so he's got to definitely hit these 5. So let's go to Jordan. So Jordan, I'm going to say he's going to keep CeeDee Lamb. I'm going to say Mike Evans. Um,
Jarvis Landry.
Jarvis Landry. And the last two spots, his options are Raheem
So
Mostert.
Michelle.
Mostert, Sony Michelle. You could talk Tom Brady or Tua as considerations. Um,
Tom Brady for sure.
Yeah, I would keep Tom Brady.
Like him and that offense just started like clicking like the last quarter of that
Yep.
season. That's just gonna carry over to next year for the whole year. 5,000
what about
yards,
Brandon
40
Cooks?
touchdowns.
Depending on what happens with Watkins, if he doesn't have anybody throwing to him.
Yeah, but Fuller's gone. So at this point, Cooks is the number. They have no tight end. They have a bad tight end situation.
Yeah, he's the number one.
Cooks. Have you ever seen like those garbage cans on wheels rolling down the road? That's Cooks.
I like that analogy.
Is it on fire too?
Might as well be.
It's like Ezekiel Elliott running the ball for the Dallas
Yeah.
Cowboys.
If your quarterback's good enough to throw it right into the receptacle, it'll be okay.
Jeez. All right, let's talk about you, guy,
Yeah.
as we should.
Yeah. I'm still not sure what my 5 are going to be
So,
based on the team right now.
Your 5 is tough. I've looked at your team
Yeah.
over and over again, and you see this is the thing, Guy, and I think a lot alike when it comes to players. We actually bounced ideas off each other day before the draft, and he ended up drafting a lot of players I wanted. So
so the looking at his roster, I think it's actually easier than you guys are making it. I think you start with the quarterback, you keep Jalen Hurts,
all
and
right,
then you want to look at tight end position. You want to keep Logan Thomas. You look at the running back position. You got to go Keyshawn Vaughn.
and Brian Hill.
I think I go Damian Harris, and then you close it out with Pittman.
No, I know you're making fun of it. I bet you I could win games with that lineup.
No, seriously though,
That's
he
the
keeps
bad part. You
no,
probably
Yeah.
could.
no, seriously though. Mahomes, McCaffrey. Um, I'm gonna say T Higgins. I'm going to say, and I'm only gonna say this because originally I didn't think it, but he made the comment, so I'm gonna say Darren Waller, and then for his fifth person, I'm gonna say Joe Burrow. I'm gonna say you're gonna keep two quarterbacks.
That's kind of, as of right now, that's kind of what I'm leaning.
Because, and I know people have made the comment, well, why would you keep two? Because here's the thing: his two quarterbacks are Joe Burrow and Patrick Mahomes. At the end of the day, he could potentially trade one of them and still acquire. He could keep them, trade them for one of them for a first round pick. Either one of them are worth at least one first round pick in this year. So he would only have 4 keepers, but then he would have a first round pick. He could do that. Another way to look at it is you have Patrick Mahomes, who is your everyday starter.
Hmm.
You'd have Burrows for one game. But what happens if in week 2 Patrick Mahomes blows his ACL out?
Exactly.
And then you have the best backup in our league.
Right. That's in my head. That's what I'm
And
thinking.
and you have that stack with Higgins.
Yep.
And that's why I said earlier when we were talking about Nick Ergang's team, where I said that's why you keep Baker Mayfield, because he would have essentially the best backup quarterback in our league.
It's typically if your quarterback starter here, if he gets hurt, your backup is here. If my starter gets hurt, my backup's here.
Yeah, you're still in good position with your quarterback situation.
Hmm.
And in your situation, it's better than Urgane's because you have that stack with the Bengals. So, which wins leagues.
Which I'm hoping will be something like when the Jags had Bortles, Allen Robinson, and that other receiver that caught a lot of touchdowns. A lot of garbage time, big yards.
Yep.
It's kind of what I thought this year would end up being, but he didn't have quite enough line protection to do it.
Yep.
If they get draft offensive linemen, get some help there, this is going to increase that. But you say those five, here's another thing that you can look at too is Zach Moss, like injured, but
Still could
still
be
can
a
produce.
threat. You remove Delvin Singletary and a healthy Zach Moss.
Hmm.
Zach Moss can be a workhorse if he stays healthy.
Right. Pittman
I,
didn't do a lot last year, was hurt, but he's still.
DJ Shark
and now you're going to have a young arm,
with
a younger
with
arm, I should
with
say,
Yeah.
young arm, but a younger arm than you had last year.
Hmm.
The running game is going to be stronger, so that running game is going to open up the passing game for
yep.
them.
And then you got DJ Shark, Gardner Minshew, Trevor Lawrence. A
Yeah.
huge upgrade. So he's going to catch. He's already catching 70 balls a year.
Hmm.
So you give him Trevor Lawrence, he's Keenan Allen type numbers.
Yeah. And then even like some of the secondary ones, like I hate giving up the Bills defense. That's
It's good
solid
defense.
defense.
Patrick Queen.
Patrick Queen, Yannick Ngakwe. So like
Trevathan.
Trevathan, like
All right, so we got 2 names left, and we went and saved the best for last because these are the ones that, if I know they're probably both watching it, and we thought one of them was actually going to be here today. So we'll, who do we want to do, Mark or Jimmy?
Let's do Mark. Let's save Jimmy for last.
All right, so with Mark, I think we can all agree. Now, of course, Mark he was one that did some big trades last year. He traded away Barkley and he traded away McCaffrey. Got a bunch of first round picks, so he
Yep.
has 4 first round picks.
With Mark's mindset, his mindset was all about the league reset this year.
Yep.
He basically sold his entire team.
And yet he still won his division.
Yes.
So he actually has 4 first round picks. One actually he has one which is the 3rd overall. So I think we can all agree Deshaun Watson. Unless okay, let me ask you before we go any farther. Let me get your guys' opinion on this. So let's say before June, let's say May 15th,
hmm
Deshaun Watson comes out and says, "I am 100% holding out this year. I am not playing in 2021." Do you still keep him?
yep. Because I don't believe what anyone says in negotiations.
Okay, so that we got that out of the way. So we can all agree he's keeping Watson. We can all agree, I think, that he's keeping.
I mean, although it would be awful if he kept him and he didn't play at all this year.
We can all agree that he's keeping George Kittle.
Hmm.
Tyreek Hill.
Who'd you say?
Tyreek Hill.
Yep, Tyreek Hill, absolutely. So there's 3. Now it gets to the discussion part. So I think you can make a discussion for Laviska Shenault is one of them. I think you can make the discussion for Mike Davis, pending situation in Carolina. Um,
I don't think Mike Davis is
Will
consideration.
Fuller.
Will Fuller. Actually, I'm going to put Will Fuller as my
Yeah.
4th. And actually, you know what? I'm going to go a defensive player. I'm going to go that he keeps Justin Simmons.
I actually am going to lean the other way and say he keeps Devin Bush.
Yeah, you keep Bush over Simmons.
But the other four are,
Yeah.
yeah.
Let me see something real quick. I'm curious now about something that we're talking about as it pertains to Mark. I'm looking up where Justin Simmons actually finished.
Third.
He was a third defensive back.
I believe so. I think Poyer from Buffalo and Buda Baker were
I think
one,
Baker was
two.
number one, I thought.
No,
No.
no, Poyer outdid him because Buda Baker missed 2 games last year with thumb surgery.
Oh, I gotta put all players, duh. There we go. Yep, it was Poyer, Baker, Jesse Bates. Simmons was actually farther down than I thought. So, so he was a seventh defensive back. So he had 1,154 points last year. Um, but like I said, his is kind of like Watson, Hill, Fuller, and then who else do we say? Oh, and Kittle. And then really whoever he keeps is more or less depth anyways.
Mhm.
He's looking to fill out his roster with that first round.
Yeah, I figured Devin Bush or Laviscus Chenault. One of those two.
Now let's talk about Jimmy.
Clyde Edwards-Helaire. That's the other player I know. Delvin Cook.
Now Jimmy, I think we can all agree on Hilaire.
Mm-hmm.
I think we can all agree on Delvin Cook. Um, we assume he's going to keep Claypool because he just traded for him.
Oh yeah, I forgot about Claypool.
So those are the three definites. Now it comes to discussion time. 2 spots. Your options are Aaron Rodgers, Jerry Jeudy, Deontay Johnson,
Debo
T.J.
Samuel.
Hawkinson, Debo Samuel. I've heard discussion. I'm really bringing it up because someone mentioned it, but Daniel Jones, Henry Ruggs. I'm going to cross Ruggs off right away.
Yeah.
So of the 4, I'm going to say Jerry Jeudy is going to be one of them. And I'm going to go with Aaron Rodgers.
If I were to pick his team, it would be Aaron Rodgers, Delvin Cook, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Jerry Jeudy. I got one more, right?
Yep.
Oh, Chase Claypool.
Yeah, I probably agree with that.
Of course, Jimmy, he has 2 first-round picks. One in the, was he 7th overall? So our first round looks like this. We got, it goes Dennis, Christina, Mark, Megan, Christina, Rich, Jimmy, Kyle, Nick Ergang, Dennis, Mark, Jimmy, Mark, Kyle, Eric, Mark. And then the second round, like for example, Nick Ritz has 3 picks in the first round. Guy has 3 picks in the second. Or I'm talking second round. Guy has 3 picks in the second round. How did you acquire those second round picks and Mark not get those?
I didn't have anything. What did I do? I don't remember. It's
You got
good.
one of them from me for the Justin Herbert deal.
Oh, that's right.
Which
You got
actually that was originally
yours.
mine. Yep. Well, let's see. We've been here chatting for over 3 hours. Anything else you guys want to talk about before we get off the air?
We never went over kickers.
You want to talk about the kicker?
I do not want to talk about the
I
kicker.
love kickers.
I hate kickers.
You know, it's funny. I never used to like him that much, or I just was kind of eh. I think it's one of the most important positions in fantasy football. I think
You know, I
championships.
was I was very excited to draft my kicker last year because I got Young Ho and he got hurt, so I dropped him. And then you took Blankenship from me.
I didn't take him. He was available. You had 10 rounds, I think, prior to me drafting him to take him. So I didn't take him. You left him out there.
Yeah. I should have drafted him in the first round.
I mean, you should have. There was instead of AJ Dillon, you should have went Rodrigo Blankenship.
I know. Damn it.
You're the reason I took him too.
I know. You would
I
have
took him
never
as a
known.
joke, and he ended up being like a really good player for me.
I know.
Maybe I need to keep him. Yep. Zeke is not being kept this year. That spot's going to Rodrigo Blankenship.
More production.
A lot more production. Tony Pollard's going to get most of the carries.
And Todd Gurley once the Cowboys signed him.
Yep. It's going to be Tony Pollard and Todd Gurley.
No, it's not.
Gus Edwards is going to be the lead back in Baltimore.
No.
And then
Naeem Hines is
surprised.
going to be the lead back in the Colts.
Taylor's
no,
going to.
Taylor's really good. I can't say anything about him.
I was going to say Taylor was going to get injured, but I can't bring myself to do that because I like Taylor.
I do too.
I actually thought about this the other day, and what do you think? We actually talked about this earlier too. If Jimmy would have had the number one overall pick, would he have taken Taylor or Hilaire?
Hilaire.
Because there was so much hype around Hilaire
Mhm.
last year.
And you would have taken Hilaire?
Taylor.
I almost bought into the whole Taylor thing and tried to convince you to draft or Hilaire thing, and then I I like Taylor too much. If I was there, it'd be Taylor.
Yeah, if I've been able to move up, which I wasn't, that's who I would have taken.
I was trying.
He actually did talk to me about it.
Mm-hmm.
Mahomes was in that part, was in
Yeah.
that deal. And,
Hindsight. Maybe I should have.
but yeah, I'm not as big on him. I don't feel you have to in our league. I don't think you have to go quarterback. I'd rather build everything else instead of put all my eggs into the quarterback
It's
basket.
all about your team construction. Like it depends on the quarterback too. Like if your team's weak at receiver or running back, then you need something to bring those points up.
Right.
Where my team is weak at wide receiver and injury.
Yeah, I've
I-
always been pretty fortunate with the receiver position.
I'm pretty weak at running back. That's my big flaw.
I'm pretty solid at running back, actually.
Not when Gus Edwards runs more yards than J.K. Dobbins.
I quit.
Tony Pollard just tears it up for the Cowboys.
So our next stream will be. Oh, you know what? Let's talk about this real quick before we go. Our next stream will be April 24th, which is a few days before the NFL draft. So it's a Saturday before the NFL draft. Guy actually will be one of the people joining us for that one. It'll be Guy and I believe Jimmy. Hi, Jimmy. We'll be sitting there talking. So, obviously the NFL draft number one overall pick is pretty much guarantee. Trevor Lawrence.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think he goes in the first round in our draft though?
He'll
I
go-
think he does.
He'll go in the first round our draft.
I think he's going top 10 in our draft.
Yeah.
I think out of this NFL draft, I think you have at least 3, 4, 5, 6 to 8 first rounders in our first round. Because I would say Trevor Lawrence for sure. At least 3 receivers will go in the first round.
The two big running backs.
At least 2, possibly even 3 rookie running backs. Is there any other quarterbacks you think that really go, or just the one? Do you think just Trevor Lawrence and the rest will go later?
Probably just the one.
I that one's tough because it all depends on
Well, I could maybe late
how
first
much
round.
how much people hype him up
Yeah.
and if somebody bites on that hype.
Well,
Like
here's one way to look at
Trey
it. It also
Lance
depends
just had his
situation.
pro day, and I guess he just tore it up.
Mhm.
Was throwing it all over the field, but that's without pads on. That's with no
Yeah.
pressure.
But here's another way to look at it also is situation. So, for example, let's say the Jets pick a quarterback at number 2 and then trade away Sam Darnold. Pretty sure that kid's starting day 1.
Mhm.
So then he
If the
might
Jets
actually go in
draft
the
a
first round.
quarterback, they
Yeah,
start day one.
like if the Jets select Zach Wilson from BYU at number 2 and then trade Sam Darnold to San Francisco, Zach Wilson is starting day 1.
Mhm.
He could go late first round. You know, Mark keeps Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson holds out. Mark just might pull the trigger on Zach Wilson just to get him by for that year until Watson comes back the following year.
Yeah.
All right.
Not trying to give you any ideas, Mark,
So, well, here, let's
but
just
that's
play.
how you
You
get.
know what? Let's play with this real quick. So, first overall pick. So you got the first overall pick. We obviously don't know where some of these rookies are going, and we don't. We've kind of guessed on who the keepers are. You have the first overall pick. Who do you take?
In the draft,
Mhm.
Lawrence.
No, I'm talking our
Oh,
draft.
our draft.
So you're Dennis. I would pick Etienne,
ETN.
ETN.
the running back out of Clemson.
Yeah.
I take ETN at
Yeah.
1.
And then if I'm Christina, then I
Najee
would go
Harris.
Harris.
Mhm.
You go to Mark at 3. I think I might go Chase.
Probably.
I'd go Lamar Chase there.
At 4, if I'm Megan, based on we're not thinking she's
Trevor
keeping a
Lawrence.
quarterback, I'd go Trevor Lawrence.
Mhm.
Then we go back down to Christina. Now I think you go receiver.
Smith.
Yeah.
Yep. Next up, we got Rich.
He needs a quarterback, right?
He needs a quarterback, but he also needs a running back because he only kept.
He'd probably go that
Or
Williamson,
no,
North Carolina.
he kept 2 running backs. He kept 2 running
Oh, did he?
backs. Antonio Gibson, or at least we said he might keep
Oh,
Gibson.
yeah. I think he still goes running back there.
That could be potentially Chris Carson.
Ronald Jones.
I would take a rookie over those two guys any day.
Well, there's the rookie out of was it North Carolina?
North Carolina, that's the one.
Depending on situation for those, though.
He doesn't need a receiver, so I guess we gotta get that a reminder. He doesn't need a receiver, so this spot's either gotta be. So if she doesn't, so if Megan doesn't, this could also be Trevor Lawrence if he doesn't go at 4.
Mhm.
Now we go to Jimmy. Oh, and like we said, we don't. Jimmy had talked about not keeping Rodgers. I mean, we could see Rodgers going at 4 and Trevor Lawrence going at 6, or the other way around.
I'd probably still
You
go.
have okay. Here's the one thing to think about.
Or if
Megan,
Rogers there, does Christina take Rogers?
Christina's
being a Packers
okay.
fan?
So Megan, Christina, and Rich are all Packer fans,
If Aaron Rodgers is there, one of them is taking him.
Yeah.
and then Wentz is their backup.
Mhm.
We get down to Jimmy at 7. I think this is a quarterback spot if he doesn't keep one. If he does keep one, it's a receiver spot. Or it could be a receiver spot regardless, and he takes a quarterback at 12 because he picks again. Kyle at 8, running back. Because from what we saw, he only kept Kamara
Yeah.
because he kept 3 receivers,
Yep.
a tight end,
So
and a
who's
quarterback.
rookie running back? Carter. He's kind of small though. He seemed more like a. I can.
Hold on, I actually have by position.
It's a Bubba
Bubber.
Hubbard.
Mother Hubbard.
Okay, so
Bubba Hubbard.
Yeah,
ESPN.
Chubba.
This was actually about
Bubba
a
Chubb.
week ago. So this is how they
Chubby
have him
Bubba.
rated. So there's
I'm gonna draft him
so the
just
two,
because
okay,
I gotta
so
have him.
Javante Williams is from North Carolina, and so is Michael Carter.
Yeah.
There's also Hubbard from Oklahoma State.
There it is. I like him.
Um, Trey Sermon could be I don't know. He didn't really have a lot
Flop.
of. Receiver
You just had to
wise,
say Trey Sermon because he's from the Ohio State University.
Oh, is he? I never heard him before.
Oh, okay.
so here's all the quarterbacks available. So you got Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, Trey Lance, Justin Fields, Mac Jones, and Kyle Trask.
That's where the quarterbacks end.
I actually like him.
I
Ellinger.
I do not like Ellinger. I saw him play a few times last year, and he has flashes, but most of the time it's just he's overthrowing his target.
want to see Trask. I gotta look up highlights from him.
I like what I saw out of Trask, but how much of that, most of his targets were to Pitts.
I like him too.
I love him, but I'm not going to get him.
Uh-oh.
I'm not going to get him.
What? Oh.
Oh, we both like
I know.
another same player.
Same thing. But there's a difference this year. We don't have those first round draft picks we had last year.
Not yet.
Here's the Kadarius Toney from Florida,
I
receiver.
like him too.
So we had Kyle taking a running back. So he might be getting one of those rookies, or like we said, he might just end up getting one of his guys back, either Chris Carson or
Ronald Jones.
Ronald Jones. Then we go to Ergang.
I'm all set with my lineup, the guys I have right now, until we start talking about the rookies and something. Like, man, I could trade all of my team for draft picks.
Yeah, I know.
Ergang would have to be a receiver for sure.
Yep.
This might be where you start seeing the Allen Robinson or someone like that going.
Right.
I think Robinson. That's high for Robinson. I gotta see the
So
other receivers
some
available.
people are gonna be more name recognition.
This is gonna be one of Jimmy's receivers. So whichever receiver Jimmy doesn't keep. So if he doesn't keep, or even Ritz.
But in fantasy football, you're putting down Robinson. Fantasy football is all about volume. Robinson gets 150 targets a year,
Hmm.
so he's got the volume.
We read the same stuff. Kyle.
So then we go to the 10th pick. We got Dennis again.
He's running back, whatever running back is available, he's taken there.
Well, now hold on.
Hold on, he's got Mark Ingram and Leonard Fournette,
And then we had him take Travis Etienne.
and he's got Godwin. He's got decent receivers.
He's got Godwin, and according to us, he's got Godwin and Cooper.
Well, still, that's two.
So right
decent,
now we got him drafted. He's got a quarterback.
He's waiting for his wide receiver 3.
So at this point, counting his first round pick, he would have a quarterback, 3 running backs, and 2 receivers. So
You
it'd
mean
probably make more sense at 10
he'd
to
have
get the
one
best
and a
receiver.
half running backs.
Huh?
He'd have 1.5 running backs. Because Fournette and Ingram together is one running back. Half a running back.
Okay, so then we go to Mark at 11.
Mark can go any way he wants.
Yeah, at this point,
he's got so many picks, he can do whatever the hell he wants.
I think he takes best running back here. Then we got Jimmy. This is probably best player for him because he's got,
Yep.
This might be a tight end spot maybe.
Pitts.
Mark. Yeah.
Pitts is going to be in here. Mark's going to take Pitts at 11. Just to make everybody angry. Because everybody wants Pitts.
And then Jimmy will, or it's, no, then Jimmy's going to come back and probably draft a Steeler.
I don't know. Ergain does like his tight ends. He proved that last year.
What pick
He's
does-
going Pitts at
yeah.
9.
Ergang's 9.
Where's Ritz pick at?
Ritz does not pick in the first.
Well, I guess that's kind of good.
But he's got 3 in the second.
But then he picked
do I.
second in the.
But all of them are before you pick.
Yeah.
All 3 are before your first one.
Oh, I tried to get them all. 6 second-round picks.
So last year in the draft,
Yeah,
just
take
before
that, Mark.
I was going to announce a pick. Either Guy or Ritz would take him every single time, and that you guys pick 6 times before I pick once. That's not fun for me.
And a couple of years ago, our picks were like, I think we picked pretty close to each other. Where it's like, I took someone and he'd be like, damn. He
That's
picks him
how
like,
it
come
was
on.
last year.
This may be the funnest draft we ever had, as far as what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Be some
it's it's
fireworks.
really it's unpredictable at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, last year was unpredictable. Like, this stuff started up.
Yeah,
It was like one trade happened. What was the first trade? It wasn't you. You were the last
Mm-hmm.
trade. What was the first trade?
I think Efren trading his first
No, that
rounder.
wasn't the first trade because someone else made the trade first, and that triggered Efren doing a trade. Someone else made a
I
trade.
don't remember.
I want to say there was 2 first-round pick trades.
I don't remember what they were. I know there were, but
Yeah, I don't remember what exactly they were.
I just remember ours was like, trade McCaffrey. He's like, sure. I'm like, oh.
Yours happened like halfway through the draft. That's why it was a weird spot where it took
Mm-hmm.
place. Well, with that, I don't know. I think we'll start closing this thing out. Like I said, we'll be back on the 24th of April with Jimmy and Guy again, and we'll be talking. We'll be going over these rookies, and we'll have more fun with where they're going to possibly go. We'll know more of where they're possibly going to go
Mm-hmm.
at that point, and we'll have the free agencies will have already happened. So we'll do a recap of where some of the free agency where they went and how that can affect the NFL draft. And then we'll also take another look at potentially that first round for us in fantasy in August. So I want to thank both of you guys for joining me today, and hope we entertained you, and hope you guys learned something from what we said, or at least got a conversation um, in your own head of who you want to take and where they might go. And we'll see this guy. Well, we'll see this guy on the 24th, but then we'll see this guy on
For the draft?
the 29th, which is the NFL, the first night of the NFL draft. I think you're joining us for that one as well, if I remember.
Probably.
So, and
I'll be
actually,
there. I'll be here for both days.
potentially Nick Ritz may be joining for one of those days as well. So, and I know I had a couple other people. I don't know if Mark signed up or Jimmy. I think Will was mentioned in there. So we'll have a full house on both nights. So we'll be doing live stream, and it'll actually take place out in the main room. And we'll just this table will be facing the TV, and we'll be watching the draft live, and then we'll be giving our who we think is going to get picked when it's up, and then we'll break down who got picked. So you got to bring what 10 monitors?
I just might bring my whole setup.
He is Mr. Monitor. Hit me with the bio. Um, all right. Well, with that being said, we're going to sign off. Um, thank you. Take care. God bless. And that's how the cookie crumbles.
If you say so.